Yeah, where's my little black binder that's around here somewhere?
Is that it right on top?
No, it's a more.
Probably over here.
That's not the one you signed up on.
Black folder? Is it underneath that thing?
Negative.
Got some stuff around here.
Looks like we're having
Yeah, does anybody see like a black naugahyde two folder type of thing?
No, that's not black. That's not black anyway.
Maybe your son could go out and check in my car.
Stacy, he's gonna stay there. Stacy.
This is it, the Honda right up front.
There's a Honda right up front. Okay, let's see if there's like a black. You can go. Thank you.
Oh, got it, found it, right over here.
Oh, never mind.
There you got it. You found it.
I like how it was chemical.
You found it.
Did you wax the car, Luke?
Found it.
Rotate the tires.
Let's do some of this. That's probably enough just to check it. Yeah, we're gonna undo it all.
Yeah, a little coil.
Yeah, so just peel it a little bit here.
In high school.
Okay.
Well, while we're waiting to start, I would like to find out what are some of the questions you have. Do any of you people here still have an analog meter?
Well, I have one, not digital, but it's not a smart meter. It just says a small RF frequency, I don't know what they call it, but to the guy in the truck, and that's it.
Should we really wait till 3 o'clock just to?
No, why don't we start now?
Okay, now I've asked this pastor here to read something important.
One pastor, yeah, just return to the next.
Go ahead, this is a verse that I think relates very, very importantly to this whole issue of government control and technological wickedness. So I'm going to have this local minister here read this verse.
Okay, it's going to be Ephesians 6:10. Several of you know it. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand. Stand therefore, having your loins girded about you with truth, and having on the breastplate of righteousness, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith ye shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked. And take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God.
David, would you open us in a brief prayer, asking to bless this meeting?
Lord, thank you today for this time and space that you've put us in. We thank you for the people that have seen worthy to come up and hear the teaching and the learning that is being put forth here. We ask that you prepare our hearts and minds so that we will learn and take this stuff to heart and not live in fear, but live in strength and oppose these evils that are being foisted upon us by these entities. And we just ask that people have an open mind and good questions. And thank you so much for our speakers that have come today. And we ask that you protect them on their journeys home. And that we just have a good, liberty-based, education-based little forum here today. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Now, for those people that weren't here earlier, I'm going to have David read a little, very short bio about me, and that way you get, I think I got it right there. Yeah.
Okay. Eric Windheim is our speaker today, and I contacted him by scouring the web looking for videos and information on smart meters, and his name kept popping up, and he popped up in a few videos. So Eric's company, Windheim Environmental Solutions, provides consultation and solutions often through the sale of high-tech equipment to end users. Eric graduated from UC Santa Barbara in 1976 with a BA. Hang on, yeah, I was picking up with that. Sorry, Steve. With a BA in geography. Most of all, his career has been involved with solar energy, energy conservation, HVAC, mechanical systems, industrial machinery, high-tech health and wellness, electrical power quality improvement, and most recently, over the past 8 months, smart/digital meters and the dangers they expose us to. Now, Eric enjoys helping people solve these problems, so please do contact him. We're going to have a contact form for you that you can fill out afterwards with your questions that we can't answer today. So without further ado, here's my back. Eric Windheim.
Thank you, David. And we might as well pass out those contact forms now. And this is, we're going to have questions. I suggest you write down all your questions as we go, because even in 5 minutes you might forget it. Just jot them down as we go along. And is that coming through back there?
Should have a little bit.
Is that coming through back there?
Yep.
Okay. So pass those forms out, and the benefit of that too is if I don't get around to answering it, I'd like to get all these back at the end of the meeting and find out what are the most common questions. And I'm asking for your, in privacy, I'm asking for your name, your phone number, and your email. It won't go any further than me, and I'll answer all these questions back to you in what's called a blind carbon copy. So it'll look like it's coming just from me to you, but it'll be going to the whole group, and it won't have anybody else's email on there. So you won't have to worry about anybody else accidentally revealing your email. That's a sanitary way of going about it. Okay, yeah, I really enjoyed technology ever since college. I declined a job opportunity to be interviewed by the CAA. My senior year in college, I got the highest grade in the class in remote satellite photo image interpretation. And the professor said, "Hey, I got some people that want to interview you." I said, "Who's that?" "Well, the CIA." I said, "Well, what for?" "Bombing sites in Vietnam." I know, I don't want to be involved in that. I said, "Oh, you can work for 20 years and retire." Sorry. You know, oftentimes I thought, you know, I missed out on a lot of money there. But what might have happened to the inside of me if I had to say, well, that's a good village to bomb? Why? Well, throw those people down there. You know, I mean, something just repulsed me about that. So I've always had a good sense of right or wrong. I credit it to my mother, who taught me to pray when I was 5 years old. And it's amazing. Things seem crystal clear, black and white. You know, some people call that narrow-minded or, you know, whatever. I think it's perception, and I really like hearing. What was your first name, sir?
Bob. Ron.
Okay, yeah, things, you have to have an understanding of right and wrong in order to stand up for your rights. And all I'm doing here today is standing up for my rights, my wife's rights, who's disabled, the other people in Sacramento, and, you know, I'm down here voluntarily. I'm hoping that you'll help me pay for my travel expenses, because I do have quite a fight with my own utility in Sacramento. But it's my duty to share this with you. I thought about, gee, do I really have the time? And David said, you're the most qualified person we can find. And I checked it out with other people, and they said, do it. So this meeting is for you. And David's going to be walking around with the mic. So this is what we're going to be talking about today. And I'm going to whiz through the slides to show you where we're going to go. We're going to be talking about what is a smart meter, what does it do, and what is the problem. Then I have some videos here. Then I'm going to show you a flyer that graphically shows what the smart meter does. Then we're going to get into health problems. This is the area that's the greatest interest to me, because I've always been interested in health. 18 years ago, a doctor told me I'd be in a wheelchair the rest of my life, and I found out a way to solve that with simple, off-the-shelf nutritional substances. Food-based. I could have ended up on Vicodin and all the rest of that, and maybe committed suicide by now if I would have just done what my doctor told me to do. And we're going to talk about radio frequencies. We're going to talk about Dr. Alan Fry back in the 60s and how he found out you could stop the beat of a frog's heart with something 1/10,000th the power of the cell phone that you may have in your pocket. We're going to talk about Dr. David Carpenter. He's a public health professional in New York. He's dead set against these smart meters. We're going to talk about the new Bioinitiative 2012 report and how that shows how the smart meter, it destroys the blood-brain barrier, which is a barrier that keeps toxins out of your brain. It's kind of like a filter, only the oxygen goes in. And so what the smart meters, what's that done is unlock the door to your brain, and it's made a furnace filter out of your brain matter. All that poison's getting clogged in there just like a dirty furnace filter. Did you give the utility company permission to do that? Okay, I'm hoping to empower you, and afterwards I really hope you'll give me your emails, because what I'm going to do is send you links. I can't give you all of those, and you can't copy them down here, but this is about learning. I'm learning all the time, and recently I just saw, how many people have been to the website that David prepared and seen the Brian Thiessen video on there? Okay, that's when I decided we've got to have a prayer at the beginning of this meeting, because this is not just about greed or making money. This is about subjugating people and treating them like lab rats.
Right.
And I think that even lab rats have more rights than they're treating us. Now, I'm going to try to withhold my own bias and just present the facts. The question here really for you is, are these things safe for you? And I want you to come to your own conclusion. And I'm hoping just to present the facts. And we're going to talk about dirty electricity. I just spoke to a man last night. He thought it was the RF radiation that was causing his heart to hurt for the last 18 months. And I said, well, let's turn off your circuit breakers before you go to bed. He called me the next night. Eric, that's the only good sleep I've had since they put the smart meter in. So we found out it's not the radio frequencies, it's the buzzing on the line created by the dirty electricity made by the smart meter. So there's really two components. You've got the radio frequency bombardment every 6 seconds, and then you've got the dirty electricity. Then we're going to get into symptoms, and we're going to get into some declarations, some declarations of fact from people that I've actually worked with. And we're going to have some pictures of people holding up bloody clothing in front of the SMUD board meetings and putting it on the overhead projector. The constant nosebleeds whenever she's in her apartment. Then I'm going to let you decide if the smart meters are safe. Okay, we're going to go into mitigation and how that kind of silver foil up there put right up against the wall acts as a radar reflector and just bounces that stuff out, unfortunately, to somebody else to deal with, and then it'll have to go into your house. And how these little filters here, when you stick them into the wall, how it just reduces the dirty electricity tremendously. Like right here, you've got a pretty dirty electricity. I wouldn't want this in my own house. It's up to the 800 level. Okay, so that's a little bit of the overview. We're going to go over a little bit of this. And of course, you all know this. This is table talk for all you folks, isn't it? Well, see, that's the confusing thing. Hey, it's no worse than a cell phone. Has anybody heard that from their utility?
Yes.
Or it's not even as bad as a cell phone, right? Okay. And, and then this will require some studies. Okay, then we're going to talk about how to protect yourself. Number one, you're going to want to opt out right away. You're going to want to get the rattlesnake off your leg. Don't look around for the best deal on it, okay? And then you can always probably go back and demand payment later, but I would say you want to get rid of the thing off your house as quick as possible. We're going to be talking about the minimum safe distance. How many people saw the movie Alien, where Sigourney Weaver is trying to get off the ship and the computer said, 10 seconds to reach minimum safe distance? Do you remember that? Well, the absolute minimum safe distance is 300 yards from a cell tower. Otherwise, you're really, really gonna have cancer quickly and a lot of other problems, hormone disruption and all that. We were talking about DECT phones, wireless routers, curly fluorescent bulbs, and the reason I carry mine around in a plastic bag is if that thing breaks, mercury vaporizes at 75 degrees. That's why your silver fillings, actually 50% mercury, get small and fall out. They're evaporating all day long at 98.6 degrees. Okay, you can shield yourself, and then we're gonna talk about cleaning up your electricity, and distance is your friend. And then we're gonna talk about some books. You know, I keep reading these books, and they're very, very informative. The Bio Initiative report is 1,500 pages, and here's a couple other ones. There's some websites. This is some people that I actually know. Okay, so that's that. So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna go to the opening video. Anybody got any questions so far? Yes, sir.
I have a Ridix, you know, it's supposed to keep all the bugs out of your house. You plug it into your wall. Would that help at all?
It's definitely something you want to unplug and never use again.
Oh, okay.
Because I'll be able to measure with this meter the increase in dirty electricity.
Yeah, because it just sends it out. So.
Yeah, this is 50 is safe, and right here in this building we've got 400, 450, 500. Okay, you don't want one of those things. Sure, they're effective, but they're no good for you either. Okay? Yes.
Why do you think they're doing this?
Sorry?
Why do you think they're doing this?
I think I was prepared for this all my
No.
life.
Why do you think they are doing this?
And you?
They were probably prepared for it too all their life. You know, I mean, I think that they don't know what they're doing, and they're motivated by, some by ignorance, some people are being misled, some people are misleading, but I don't think they're looking out for good. I think that they probably revere technology so much that everything should be subjugated. In fact, there's a movement out there called technocracy. Has anybody heard of technocracy? It actually started back in the 20s or 30s. People are worshiping technology, and they forgot who is the crown of creation here on this earth. Who was this earth made for? You know, and like, it's literally like one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, the last one, The Revenge of the Machines, where the machines take over.
Yeah.
We can't let machines be our master. We have to master the technology. And we have to do it in a safe way. It's all about money. We're gonna get to that. Yes, sir.
My hearing's a little bad, but, have you done any, research on routers for computers?
Yeah, I don't need to tell you very much. They're absolutely horrible. Go back to cables.
Yeah, because I've been turning my router off. When I'm not using my computer, I turn my router off.
Yeah.
And I can actually notice a more peaceful feeling in my house.
Yeah, very good. Okay. And I encourage you to write down all questions. Yes, sir.
Can, the signal and the buzz, can it also cause not only heart rate, it cause also respiratory problems as well?
Well, we're gonna get to that. But I really should, before we go any further, I just wanna tell you that my personal smart meter battle, I had an uncle die, had two parents in the hospital, one almost died, the other one did, and I knew smart meters were coming through. I did some research. It said, wow, you know, many transmissions per minute. The utility said 4 to 6 a day. I'm going, wait a minute, there's a disconnect. I know what I'm seeing, and I don't trust them. So when they came by my yard, and my dog barked, I just said, no, no, no! Get off my property, you're trespassing. You can't say no. I'm telling you to get off my property. I said, we can come back. No, you won't. I said, you're gonna get a letter. Fine, just get off my property. So 18 months later, they call me up and say, you now have 18 days to decide between taking a smart meter and start paying a penalty fee. That's when I first started going to the SMUD board meetings. I started off by saying, you waited 18 months and then you give me 18 days. Your lack of prior business planning doesn't constitute any kind of emergency on my part. You've got a lot of explaining to do. I forbid you for this, I forbid you from that, I forbid you from this, I forbid you from that. And if you do this because I'm a disabled wife, so much the worse for SMUD if and when damage is caused.
Tell them what SMUD is.
SMUD stands for, and their name's probably going to end up being MUD pretty quick. It stands for Sacramento Municipal Utility District. They're the 6th largest municipal utility district in the United States, and they're different than the investor-owned utilities like PG&E in Southern California Edison, where stockholders own them, and they're regulated by the so-called California Public Utility Commission, which I've heard other people say is a kangaroo court. And I've testified in front of the CPUC. SMUD is governed by 7 board members. They come in once a week or something and they get paid $150. And I believe that most of them are probably innocent or ignorant, but I do believe that the staff knows everything about these smart meters, including a lot that I don't know, but they're withholding it, or they're deceiving the staff. I mean, they're deceiving the board, and that's really the sad thing. So, you wondered why they're doing it? I believe the people that are pulling the levers and making the decisions are being deceived. Okay, so we're going to go here to our first video, and this will tell you why they're doing it.
You put a story out there, it's wrong, but what the heck? We're gonna go with it. We're gonna look you straight in the eye, and we're gonna lie to you. What are you gonna do about it? It's raising new questions tonight about the accuracy of PG&E's controversial new smart meters.
People all over the state have been complaining about the inflated bills. Our bill was $873. Does not save energy, so smart grids miss the mark on energy savings.
It's all about money.
I think that's why they're doing it. These people are worshiping the dollar, money. What does it say in Timothy about worshiping money?
It's the devil. Love of money is the root of all evil.
Well, the root of many kinds of evil. Right, and I think that they're worshiping money and they're using technology, and they're not, you're just a crock. Now that's what other people say. I happen to believe the same way, but the way they're treating us is fairly, they're not respecting our individuality, our sovereignty, and they're putting, we're paying for these meters, by the way. When Southern California Edison buys a piece of equipment, let's say it costs $100, bang, they're guaranteed a 10% profit by law under the CPUC. So they pass the price on to you at 110.
We're going to be charged for time of use. One day it's coming.
And they're going to start doing a profile of you as an individual. How you use your time, how you spend your energy, what you think.
Right down to the micro level. I mean, this is control freakery. It is the wet dream of the technocrats. And we've got massive data storage areas that never existed before.
Who knows what that building is? Okay, go ahead.
It's what it says up there, it's an NSA database of everything that we do, every bit of information that they gather on us.
Now, this is the mother of all databases. It's in Bluffdale, Utah. It's going to be where all security data, everything. This is going to be the biggest data center of frivolous information that's ever been made in the history of mankind. It's going to make Google servers look like toys. Yes?
What I'm hoping is that the Mormons did this on purpose so that then they can blow that building up. just thinking.
I wouldn't say anything like that on this because we don't know where this video is going to go.
Okay.
Specifically to accommodate the accumulation of this kind of knowledge.
The next thing we know, people are walking up in the early morning hours to people's houses, taking off the analog meters and putting on the smart meters without telling anybody.
And now there are real concerns that they can blow a fuse, even explode, and put those homes at risk.
Half a dozen smart meters across 1 to 2 suburbs have exploded.
422 fires were just.
This has happened down in Bakersfield twice, as far as we know.
Huh.
Wow.
What makes them do that?
There's a lot of reasons. The people that install it probably have less electrical training
Yeah.
than you've got. And they're on, they yank it off, they slam it back on, they don't check to see if, if there's corrosion or anything. And just the way they roughly handle things is guaranteed to knock things around. And they don't, their statement is their responsibility is at the meter and no further. If there's a fire inwards, that's your problem. That's literally in print, you're gonna see that. Yes, sir.
Is that supposed to be a smart meter?
That's what's left of one.
That can't be a smart meter.
Oh, that's a 3-prong plug?
Yeah.
Yes.
Appliances are burning up too. The case was just settled in Vacaville where a smart meter was installed. It made so much noise, the man told his brother to come over and listen to it. And that night a fire started and a man died in the house. And a judgment was, a private settlement was done with PG&E. I don't know how much, but this man, this is his second successful smart meter lawsuit, and now he has a personal injury lawsuit that's open to every one of you folks. And he's focusing first on Southern California Edison. So that's one reason I want you to put down there. If you have injury or you know someone that's injured, I want to talk to them because I'm collecting declarations. And I've told my utility, here's another declaration that I've collected. I said, my company is involved as part of a nationwide project of collecting declarations from people that have been injured. You can see me every time. If you go to the SMUD website, you can see the way I approach the board. I make no bones about it. I'm building my case.
As a byproduct of a smart meter installation. It's not like that. It looked like he had exploded.
Hydro's $1 billion smart meter program wrote back saying it's not responsible for any loss, injury, damage, or expense.
Does that sound right? It's just coincidence that it burned up within the first day or first week or whatever.
Evidence gets stronger and stronger that there are.
But this is a very wonderful man. He travels all over the United States testifying. All he wants to do is you pay his lodging and his airfare. You see his credentials here. You're going to find out more about this guy. He knows how unsafe these are. In fact, you have a video on your own website that David set up. I can't stress enough how you need to keep up to date and educate yourself, because otherwise your brain is like a magnet for the iron filings of media rush that are floating around, and it's going to stick to your brain like iron filings to a magnet. So you've got to go and educate yourself, and David's got some really good sites up there.
Are adverse health effects that these regulatory agencies can no longer deny.
I can't tell how many people have called me at.
This man here, Sam Windheim, he's a very wonderful man. He's answered some of my emails, he called me, and he's an epidemiologist. He's got a Master of Public Health. He started finding out about dirty electricity 30, 40 years ago, when he was doing research on people in aluminum plants. This is a book you'd want to read and find out the history of dirty electricity. Like, what don't the Amish people have any autism? What's unique about the Amish people?
They're secluded.
Yeah, and see, when he does epidemiological studies on things like that, it's kind of obvious. Exposure to electricity comes with a cost. That's what he calls this book, Electrification and the Diseases of Civilization. Okay, this is a really good book. Make sure you get the latest version. It's made in December, okay, of last year. He's an expert.
Who became dreadfully ill the minute one of those got put on their house.
The smart meters.
Dreadfully ill the minute the thing went on their house. What could be more obvious than that?
It's up my heart completely. The smart meter was installed.
That last man is a plaintiff in the case against Southern California Edison. His name is Louis Donovan. And I have a longer clip of him we're going to play later, and he'll describe how the smart meter stopped his heart 3 times. He finally got a pacemaker put in, and the smart meter stopped that too. It's amazing how insensitive the utilities are to life and death situations like this.
Oh, man.
This is Dr. Dietrich Klinghardt. He has a very good 40-minute talk about smart meters. He's another excellent person you should listen to.
Within weeks, the patient has a dramatic downturn
and brain function. He was no longer able to walk. 6 months later, he died.
Strictly a coincidence, wouldn't you think? It was time for him to check out, right? It just happened to be a coincidence that the smart meter went on and he started going downhill right away, right? Like if you work for the Southern California Edison Company and you come to me as a supervisor and I'll say, you know, you're complaining about the smart meter. Hey, our program is electricity. Do you like your job? Do you want to keep your job? I mean, I don't know what they say, but I'm waiting for people within these utilities to start dying and bleeding and having all that.
And
And
children.
yeah, see how they affect it. The children, by the way, are much more affected.
I've
Yeah.
talked to several of them that work for Edison, and they have all opted out. I mean, the ones I talked to.
They have.
They've opted
Yeah,
out.
but it's reasons of job protection for their fellow workers.
That was one of the other.
What do you mean job protection?
Well,
Meter readers.
The meter readers are,
being let go. And so they're protesting.
Oh, so they're doing it for social cause reasons. They want some
Well,
people.
the one I heard, that's what he said.
Okay, so literally they're paying their $75 plus $10 a month just as private social security for these guys to keep a few of them. Yeah, okay, that's,
That one guy told me.
okay, very interesting, that's good.
We've given them consent by being quiet.
What did we hear about consent?
That's a consent.
Yeah, if you give consent, they can trample all over you.
They can't afford to be quiet. This is a game changer.
People are rising up and they're finally saying, no, we have to take
That
back.
woman was arrested 2 days ago.
That was her.
Yeah, Kim Bendis. And it's really tragic. She's the president of Naperville Smart Meters.
What'd she get arrested for?
Refusing to let them install a smart meter on the home of her husband, and her children. She has 2 counts. Verbally resisting the utility people and photographing the police on her own property.
Was that
Be quiet.
Illinois, yeah.
This is a game changer.
People are rising up and they're
She and her neighbor, Jennifer Stahl, she's the president, and Jennifer Stahl is the secretary, and they came in just like.
Yeah, it's all over YouTube.
You did?
The rest,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you hear the pitiful sound in their voice as they're, did you see the camera pictures they were actually taking? It's pretty pitiful, made you sick to hear their cries and pleas for help.
I say, no, we have to take back our power in all sense of the word.
That's going to be a full-length movie coming out pretty soon. So what comments do we have on that so far? This is your meeting.
Do you think population control is involved here?
You know, I'm almost afraid to say, because I don't know where this video is going to go, but I was a part of Paul Ehrlich's Zero Population Growth program. Do you remember Zero Population Growth back in the 70s? And, you know, their motto was every litter hurts a bit, stop it too. And, you know, being an ecologist and an environmentalist, I thought we ought to control our population. But when I started hearing things that they were talking about, like making abortion more, like I was just a young man growing up at 17, and when I heard the disrespect they had for human life, it was horrible. But then also in my biology class, they had this book called Limits to Growth by the Club of Rome. You can look that up, Limits to Growth by the Club of Rome. And they're talking, we're running out of gas, we're running out of steel, we're, you know, the iron ore is all gone around the, you know, we're running out of this, but the people are growing bigger, more people, and the question is, what are we going to do with all these people? That's the constant question. What are we going to do? So I think that there's people that are saying, there's too many people on this lifeboat. I'm saying there's a certain group of people that may hold this idea, there's too many people on this lifeboat, what are we going to do? What do you think? What's your personal viewpoint?
Well, I think it has a play into it somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're certainly not trying to stop what they're doing with population
Oh, yeah.
Bringing both ends up.
Yeah. Yeah.
God is the giver of life, and he's the sustainer and the provider, so it doesn't matter, he can do it all. I don't agree with this business of growth, there's too many people, I don't agree with that.
Well, that's something to think about. There's a lot of agendas involved in this thing, and we don't really know what they all are.
Okay, back here, you got a question back here.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Now, isn't all this a smart meter? You know, it's not tested and it's not proven, and the whole smart meter thing, isn't this false advertisement?
That's pretty perceptive of you. They've never tested it on, never done any epidemiological studies, never. And they say they're safe, and they're basing that on.
You consented. You consented to have it by not protesting it, okay? So they are on solid legal ground. That's the problem.
Okay, now, what we're gonna do next.
One more question real quick.
Okay.
You know, what you've shown us so far, the first thing that comes to my mind is who's the enemy? Because.
You mean, what they think is the enemy?
Well, I mean, who are the people fighting against? Because in our litigious society, I mean, people sue over everything. And there's enough lawyers out there, there's so much money here, that it's hard to imagine there wouldn't be some group of blood-sucking lawyers who would be going after this money.
They are.
Because the government.
They've been sitting on perches, and we've got a few lawyers coming down and swooping down and making kills. And, you know, like a hawk coming down and swooping down. Mostly, though, I thought the same thing. Where are the attorneys? They've been waiting for an opportune, they've been waiting for the opportune moment. And they're starting to come out of the woodwork. There's one gentleman here in California, he's got two successful smart meter lawsuits. One is wrongful death, and the other one is he got the meter off his own house.
Okay, based on that, and the amount of controversy, it seems like there's thousands of people protesting this. Wouldn't it be reasonable for someone to get an injunction against these utility companies?
Well, now you're working through the public. You're working through the public system. I personally probably.
That's what I say, who's the enemy? If we can't, why can't we use the law on our side?
Well, some people are, and I want to read your man's book and find out more about it. It's a hydra. You want to make sure you get the meter. The only people that are making money is the meter makers. The smart meter projects are running over budget with the utilities. But that's a good question, but it's something you can't ever give up on. We'll cover that a little bit later. And now we're going to go to a different one. We're going to show you a video here of how these things actually work. Now this is the manufacturer. Silver Springs is how many people have ever heard of Silver Springs Network? Okay, you look on your meter, they do most of the, they're the system administrator for this whole thing. This is going to be,
Utility is like most.
this is going to show you how it works. Pay particular attention to the amount of radiation bursts that the actual manufacturer does, and then I'm going to show you the video that my utility fed to all of us.
You serve a variety of customers living in urban, suburban, and rural environments. You can and should have an integrated solution, and you should consider your operating territory as an integrated entity.
This is a pitch to the utilities. This is a video to the utilities about why they should use this system.
The first and most important step is to choose the right network. If you don't get the network infrastructure right, you'll be rebuilding for years.
Hint, use us. Because if you don't use us, you'll be rebuilding for years. And Silver Springs does about 75% of all the volume in the United States. They've clearly got the lion's share.
The Smart Energy Network from Silver Spring Networks provides two-way IP-based networking to every point on the grid. It uses a variety of carriers. Devices can be installed on a variety of structures, including light and power poles or at the substation. At the utility offices, network management software is installed and exploits web services and APIs. This allows easy, low-cost integration with your existing back-office systems and allows those systems to access the devices on the smart grid. Typically, utilities first deploy meters as they deliver immediate business benefit.
Now, how did you like that little phrase? You're good on words. Immediate business benefit. If they buy a meter for $100, they can charge you $110. Bing, if an investor-owned utility.
Well, and also if all the rates
If all of a sudden where you had $60 a month, now you're getting $600 a month. That's a big flow of money going into copper.
Yes.
Were they required to do an environmental impact report?
Oh, that's the amazing thing. FEQA, Federal Environmental Quality Act, waived. CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act.
That should be a basis for a lawsuit right there.
Well, yeah, and here's the basis they did. This is nothing more than a simple meter change-out. Quote.
Yeah, well, if I were to put a garage over here, I need to have an environmental impact report.
Yeah, well, now, see, there's been so many waivers and all of this, when you add it all up, this thing had to be rammed through in the middle of the night. It's a secret of secrets. And a lot of people had to, either they had to throw their morals out the window or accept a big enough pay to lie, bribe to lie, in my opinion.
Could have been a threat too.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Well, eventually, I believe what they're gonna do with this is they'll start saying, well, at a certain time during the day, you're gonna be up in tier 9 for a half an hour.
Okay, we'll get to that. It's time of use billing.
Yeah, time of use. In other words, they're gonna dictate how much you're gonna be paying a certain time during the day when everybody's using it, and they're gonna be making lots of money, and,
You're
and there's nothing you can do about it.
You're telling me what I heard.
CPUC says okay.
Yeah, they're gonna be able to charge whatever they want, triple, quadruple, quintuple, in the period between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. It's gonna be worth your while to set your alarm and get up and do your laundry at 1 a.m. It's gonna be worth your while to cook your Thanksgiving turkey at midnight.
3 days before.
It's gonna be worth your while to do anything that requires electricity after 10 and before 6 in the morning. Yes?
Excuse me, I want to answer this gentleman. The reason they don't have to have the environmental impact study and all this stuff you're talking about and why lawyers have been doing this because of what he said in his presentation, because we already gave them permission. That's why they don't have to do anything, and that's why lawyers, because they've got to go to that big hurdle right there, that you let them.
Okay, let's keep going along. I think we've got a lot of information to cover here.
These are smart devices that automatically configure.
Now, I want to tell you here, these things go a mile. How come the artist rendition just shows the radiation going maybe 10, 15 feet? It's like, hey, this is a safe gun. Look, the bullets go 15 feet. It can't hurt you, right? I mean, even a 22, bullet goes over a mile. But if in a cartoon you show 15 feet, what is it? What is that a truthful visual imitation? Can you imagine if each one of these meters going off actually showed the concentric rings? And I don't just mean a butterfly thing, but I mean a total, like throwing a rock in a pump. What would this place look like if there was rings all the way out a mile away?
Inside of a microwave.
It would look like a scene out of Vietnam where the B-52s are dropping 100 bombs, carpet bombing. They're minimizing, they're using visual, is this visually accurate or is that visually deceptive?
Visually deceptive.
Okay, wait till you see the next video. Okay, this one's a little bit more truthful.
And even self-heal as the system changes and can capture interval data for dynamic pricing, power quality information, and more. Reporting automatically based on your configuration and are upgradable at any time over the network. Like all network devices, they are totally secure using the most proven IP security standards. If you have...
Is there anything out there that can't be hacked?
Nope.
Lou says no.
The i5? No.
Water or gas, these devices can drop in anywhere.
Oh boy, we've got to add on products. Cha-ching.
Anytime, automatically networking with electric meters in the area. If you don't offer gas or water, this may be a great business opportunity.
Can they turn your power off remotely?
Oh yeah. Yeah, in fact, we have, at the CPUC hearing, there was a PG&E ex-employee that said, we've noticed that the fires occur most of the time after they shut it off and then turn it back on. Yeah, and he got, of course, kicked out of the company, but he doesn't care. He's a whistleblower. He says, it's beyond losing my job. I'm tired of seeing being hurt. His words are that when they turn it off and turn it back on, that's the greatest incident of a fire starting.
point is, you're sending a signal from your house that is individual to your lifestyle, and everybody's doing that.
Oh, we're gonna get to that. You mean like they can look at everything you're like? Yeah. Did you guys have a question, or are you just enjoying what we're talking about so far? Okay, good. And this is your meeting, so let me know.
Question here, basically, we had a meter in the house, and then it relays out to the telephone poles right here, right?
Yeah,
And
this is-
and then that goes back to the utility center,
Uh-huh.
HQ.
You got the residential, the point of use, you got the relay site, and then you got the main headquarters. So each time along the way, you're using a higher power transmission. What you don't wanna do is live next to one of these puppies.
It's one of those relays.
Yeah, like, cause that thing is blasting with way more power, way more frequently. It's taking the total number of transmissions from this area and sending it out.
The area's depicted here, it's a relay that's on a corner. Are we more likely to find, or how can you identify where a relay is in your neighborhood? Are they more likely to be on a corner?
There's one about 4 telephone poles down, right over here on the right side.
Is that the one with 3 antennas on top?
Yeah, it's got a little white box, and it makes your radio in your car go when you drive by.
Oh my goodness.
So that's what's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually,
Eric?
Question?
something right,
In the back.
an AM radio tuned to a dead spot is a great way to determine RF. Yes, sir.
So isn't it true that the information goes to a third-party clearinghouse and then it goes to the utility?
We're gonna get to that, okay? But you know, we're still discovering everything about this. They haven't revealed it all. I've written several times to my utility, you have liability because you haven't made full disclosure, okay? That's as polite as I can put it to them. So you have liability because you haven't given me full disclosure, even upon my request. They don't like me. They roped off the first 3 rows, they tripled the armed guard, and what I did is I said, well, I've got a hearing problem, and now you've got to have some people doing court stenography for me and a special screen. That's costing them $300 a month. I hope it's worth it.
Very nice.
But they find what we're asking is irritating to them.
Provide other services in your area. One of the many advantages of a smart, secure network is the ability to remotely connect and disconnect customer service. This lowers
How convenient.
Yeah, like you. We don't like what you're saying. Beast.
Yeah.
How do you like that?
That's what I'm thinking.
I'm expecting to go home and find my power. Because I have paid my, the smart meter, fees, I haven't, even though it's
You know,
fees.
if you'll change your attitude and the way you think and talk, we'll give you back a half ration of kilowatts on a trial basis.
Don't ever talk back to Meza, you wish you could.
But it's kind of like what
I'm
you're
just saying, just think about this, the ultimate power over people like, Mommy, why are we in the dark? What's the parents gonna do?
And then CPS comes. Your children have no electricity, you are like.
One thing leads to another for total control.
Okay, so, like, I don't wanna leave the
Read how we
conspiracy theories.
learned Bear Masters and what happened to Jack.
These are possibilities, yes.
Years ago, I saw a survey that Edison sent out, asking for if we would pay how much would we pay if they shut off the power, or the power was off in the morning time? How much would you be willing to pay? This amount, this amount, or this amount? How much would you be willing to pay? It was in the afternoon, during these hours. How much would you be willing to pay in the evening?
That's all part of this. Yeah,
And
it's,
I'm thinking to myself, why are they asking these questions? It's their job to provide electricity. What is the possible benefit?
well, there is something, we're gonna get to that. It costs, they buy electricity minute by minute, and it costs more in the middle of the afternoon because the dams, the clean hydro isn't enough, and they have to turn on boiler plants and fast peaking plants. But they're turning it into instead of an incentive, they're turning it into a penalty. So many people feel that that's an inhuman way of treating sovereign individuals.
operating costs, and increases customer satisfaction. In the event of a power outage, the devices can automatically report the outage, sending the message to your outage management system. They can also allow OMS and field crews to verify the service.
Okay, once again, you see how short those microwaves are going out? If we take this literally, is that far enough? Is that far enough for that signal to get over to the relay station? And in itself, it doesn't even stand up.
Well, look at the lights go further than those, radio signals.
Yeah, okay, so what if they showed that each one of these things, all the waves went out in all directions? This thing would look like a cobweb. And that's literally what we're in. We're working our way through a cobweb. It's the overall ambient RF load is getting to be as bad as the air used to be in LA 20, 30 years ago. So what you think about is the overall ambient RF load. Like, I think someone can make a lot of money if they make an RF detection badge, kind of like radiation workers wear.
Changes color.
Yeah.
This has been restored before they leave the neighborhood. Customer empowerment and demand response are two hot topics. With an IP-based network, consumer devices such as smart thermostats, energy services portals, and load control systems seamlessly integrate to a common network, allowing the utility to send price signals, provide customer notification, and create automated home area networks. Many companies are rapidly developing new technologies for the smart home, and most of these will connect to the smart grid via smart energy networks.
Okay, translation. Right now, if you voluntarily allow the smart meter to communicate to the new generation of refrigerators, washers, and dryers, they've already got a Bluetooth thing in there. It's called Zigbee. You can detect it with meters. The refrigerators, washers, and dryers are going to communicate with the smart meter. And right now they'll be voluntary if you want to allow them to turn them off at the peak time to save money. But if you give them voluntary access to the innards of your house, is it possible for them to say, it's no longer voluntary?
Consent.
Mandatory.
What?
Consent.
Yeah, it's implied consent.
Oh.
And they're working closer and further into your house. Now maybe that's a good idea. Maybe we should all just, queue up and do what they tell us to do. Is there anybody here that feels that's the best way?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
We'll have a class on how to march in lockstep next week.
What?
We'll have a class on how to march in lockstep next week.
Okay.
For 100 years, utilities are pushing sensors and automation further down the grid to meet new reliability standards while lowering operating costs. IP-based smart energy networks lower the cost of deploying distribution automation by over 50%, while simultaneously improving value creation and ease of integration. Now it starts to get really interesting.
Now, your name is David, right?
Bob.
Bob. Okay, Bob, how would you ask the utility a question that says, why in your animation do you only show the radiation going 15 feet?
Well, I would ask them, how does it lower your cost by 50%?
Okay, but what I'm saying is visual deception. Why do you show that the radiation goes out 15 feet and stops? Why did your artist decide to convey what's supposed to be the truth in that manner? How would you pose that question?
Well, because if we showed everybody exactly what happened, nobody would buy it.
Oh, okay, you didn't have to think too long about that one, did you? I mean, if we showed this like there's millions of things going back and forth, people say, holy smoke. Okay, good point.
Even a better point on that, why did it even place, my house that it emanates radiation out off my wall to begin with?
Okay.
I also heard somewhere that stimulus money was used to help energy companies buy these.
Oh yeah, my utility, $127.5 million paid for. And what I think is they had to fight to get these grants, and once they got them, they're under the thumb of people. You've got to toe the line. Because it looks like they're very, very fearful of losing the power of the position, or they're missing out on some big bonuses coming down. But I've never seen anybody that needs to get absolutely 100% penetration, or as they call it deployment.
That's also the reason why the spokesman for Southern California Edison told us to talk with the CPUC. They tried to tell us, well, you have to take that with CPUC.
Yeah, that's the runaround there, they pass you off.
Hybrids are not likely a big concern for you today. They will be within the life cycle of the smart energy network. With the right network, these devices can be easily supported, letting the system operator know if they need power or if they have power to provide for peak management. Secure networking can allow utilities to manage when charges occur and how to reconcile the bill. This trend will continue. Distributed generation, distributed storage, prepayment, and more are coming to the grid. The smart energy network allows them to be seamlessly incorporated when you want or need them. Even changes.
Wait a minute, I heard some groans. What did you hear?
The ATM card in your house going paying prepayment.
The prepayment.
They have access to your ATM card.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting, isn't it?
And it gets transmitted.
Well, the actual motto of Silver Springs, last time I checked, was said, one network, many applications.
To the underlying technology can be managed. Today, WiMAX is an example of a promising
Okay, now that's a little bit more truthful, isn't it? See where those things are going out there?
technology that is not quite ready. When it is, it can drop in as an upgrade where appropriate, leaving the balance of the smart grid operating as before. By making the right choice in network.
Now as you think about it, how many different kinds of things are out there pinging and blasting all day long? They're invisible, and most of the time your body can't feel it. You just get sick in some way or another. Your blood sugar goes up. You get a cancer tumor, or this or that. And I'm not talking. This is all supportable in peer-reviewed studies. I had a woman that came down to the SMUD meeting, and she said, since your smart meter was installed, my blood sugar has gone up to 800. Does anybody know anybody that's got diabetes?
Yeah.
Okay, what's a healthy blood sugar level?
Under 150.
Okay, what does 800 indicate?
That'll put you in a coma.
Okay.
Keep talking.
But these things are approved by the FCC, so not to worry.
I've also heard them getting in the way of garage door openers, gate openers, that run
No, that's
off
weird.
wire
My garage door's been opening by
Yeah,
itself.
yeah.
bees, I don't know.
I swear.
Okay, we're
I
gonna move
don't know
on.
for sure, but the bees supposedly.
I unplugged my garage.
Yeah, there's a lot of biological effects. We're gonna move along here.
You created the strategic platform for the future. A world with millions of devices tied together into a single smart grid.
By the way, I got enough information to fill my whole 3 hours. So I hope that you guys are gonna be here and watch for all of it. If you want, I can speed it all up and we can skip some, but there's.
Increasing efficiency and improving reliability. Smart energy networks, only Silver Spring Networks.
Where are they from?
Palo Alto or Redwood City, they're about ready to have a big public offering, you know. So they're about ready to make a lot of money.
That's where they're from, California.
Sorry?
Where are they from?
Yeah, Bay Area,
Yeah.
Silicon Valley area.
All the liberals.
Okay, so what's the next thing we're gonna look at?
Does it affect blood pressure?
It goes up. I mean, it does all kinds of things. We're talking about something the list is almost endless, okay? We can get into that. That's where you want to read the Bioinitiative Report 2012. 1,409, Bioinitiative 2012, 1,497 pages. I printed it all out. And it's about that thick. I'm going to take it to the next SMUD board meeting.
Who did the bioinitiative?
David Carpenter, and see, they were the editors, and Cindy Stage, who was a colleague of mine down at UC Santa Barbara. But there's over 50 doctors from around the world that prepared, and that already did these peer-reviewed studies. They didn't do them for this report. The Bioinitiative report is just a gathering of all the latest data.
Right.
All the latest data. Okay, now we're going to go to the SMUD video, and this is the most interesting video. Okay, now, I want you to think if this looks like a more realistic, truthful explanation of what's going on than the other one. or if perhaps it's not as complete and truthful. This is my utility, has this video on their website, and there is no sound, but we're gonna take a look at some things here. Okay, now can you see those yellow circles going up here like this?
Yes.
Okay, hey man, up and away, it's out of the way, right?
Straight to it.
Okay, and it goes to this way up there, like it's not in anybody's way. Okay, then it goes down over here to the SMUD, and then SMUD sends back, oh, a green signal, isn't that nice? Okay, so like, hey, overhead, out of sight, out of mind, okay? Is that the truth? It sends out in a concentric spherical pattern. Okay, smart meter collects and automatically stores the data. Yeah, it actually sends your data only once every 4 hours. That's 6 times a day. So what are the other 13,381 transmissions for? They're actually relays of everybody else's data. OPD, other people's data is going through your site. Plus the sync thing is synchronizing all the time, and I've actually read some, I've got that report from Silver Springs right here, and the Law School of Vermont has an interesting report that says when these smart meters get fully utilized, they'll be sending a lot more signals because they'll be doing a lot more things. So if we right now have 13,000 transmissions just to send 6 meter reads per day, you know, I mean, how much excess traffic do we need? Okay, now that's a relay. See, once again, the whole thing, this is above the house.
That's a transmission tower.
Now this is a little bit truthful. They're showing something coming back. SMUD then uses the electric usage. Oh, to bill. You know, this shows a bill. This is a paper bill going back to the customer. We're not seeing any street level ricochet of RF on this one here. Okay, so that's the bill going to the customer. Okay, now here is something fairly truthful. Signaling going back and forth from SMUD. But, see, this smart meter here is going to be hooked up to everything in your house.
I mean, it sends it wirelessly instead of through the 110 line.
No, that'd be power line carrier signal. Right now, the smart meter just communicates between you and SMUD. But if you give consent, you'll move into what's called the HAN network, the Home Area Network, and you're going to give SMUD permission to interact with all your appliances. And boy, the appliance companies, they are really happy. They're talking about a whole new wave of washers, dryers, TVs, everything, because they're smart and they'll communicate with the smart meter. This is going to make the book 1984 look like a comic.
I ask a question on that. Say for instance that my mother has a refrigerator that's old, and maybe the electric company will offer through their program, we will upgrade your system.
Sure.
There's new stuff, if you jump in this plan, like if you're elderly or you can't really afford, that will offer this special incentive that you were building on, if you install these new products.
Right.
Keep everybody poor, and then the upgrade, put this stuff in, won't keep your bill down or whatever, but it gets that stuff into the house.
Yeah, now if they actually had that program going back about 10, 12 years, and we took advantage of the $50 refrigerator program.
I remember that.
But you know, that is a basic tenet of, if you look at history, government, smartism, whatever, they keep everybody down and then the government holds a carrot out. If you'll do this, we'll give you an incentive, like, you know, good things come from the state, you know. And that way you literally give consent to allow that into your house.
Practically poison wrapped in a candy wrapper.
Yeah. And now they do it under the guise of just wanting to get you the most efficient washer or dryer. I'd be looking around the used appliance place personally. Okay, so which one of those do you think was a more accurate rendition of what's really going on as far as the radio transmissions? The first one from the manufacturer, or the second one from Sacramento Municipal Utility District? Which one's a more accurate rendition?
The second one.
The second one?
Yep.
Okay, why is that?
I didn't really see it, but I'm sure it was.
It shows it going further.
Okay, now what do you think?
It was the first one.
Why is the first one more accurate in your opinion?
Well, it's from the manufacturer, and they're basically saying how the thing's working. The power company one was more of a cheap animated, I don't know, that's the way I.
For me, it was the motivation.
I can't hear that great.
The motivation in the second one made it look like it was trying to do you a favor, save money, we'll get your bill to you quicker.
Yeah, right, and the second one was aimed at residential
Yeah,
customers.
and the first video was like, we're gonna help you capital gain, we're gonna help you get more control. It was showing true, for me, the true meaning and purpose of those meters, was so that the electrical management could have more control. The other one made it look, oh, more ease. At least that's what I picked up.
Okay, yeah, all these are very interesting. Okay, now we're going to go into a little bit of okay, now this is I want to give credit to Tom Wilson and Green Healthy Homes. There's a lot of people who have done a lot of work, and I want to make sure I give them all credit. There's many different, now here's the big reason. Here's what they want to do. And they have a legitimate reason, you know, like in the middle of the day between 2:30 and 7:30, you know, it's hot during the summertime, right? Everybody wants to have their air conditioner on, right? Okay, it's also the most expensive time of day to supply electricity because the dams aren't supplying enough and they have to go buy power from here and there and someone's got to light a boiler. And, you know, it's like fast food costs more than stuff that you prepare at home. So they want to get out of this peak. So what they said is with incentives, they can drop it during that period of time. The incentive is that if you avoid using electricity, your rates are probably going to stay the same. What's so funny about that?
It's oxymoron. You're gonna pay for it anyway, no matter what.
Okay, so they call that an incentive.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Is that the right word to use there? Okay, I guess if Helen Keller put her hand on the burner of the stove, it would be an incentive for her if she took it away. Okay?
Wow.
So, in order to quit from getting just an astronomical utility bill, you're going to find other times a day. And they decided to use this penalty motivation rather than motivation. I already do a lot of my laundry at work. I mean, it's just a way of life for me, you know. I use my air conditioner in the morning to cool the house down. Okay, now this really is a net and a grid. They don't call it a web and a net for nothing. And probably want to avoid getting caught in it. These are the people, hey, these are going to be great stocks to buy, you know. This is going to be the information, gathering information business is going to be going up, 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 up. Okay, once again, we have these pictures of just little short bursts of waves, you know, kind of like breakers on the beach. It actually looks like water out there in the ocean or something, kind of healthy. Some of them are blue, you know. That's the color they paint the inside of silence, by the way. Okay, so this is, again, the meter is going to go out and put a tentacle on all of your appliances. Like, hey, no swimming pool pumps this time of day. Okay, and it gets a little bit more complicated. See, this is your home energy manager, this is your smart meter, this is the neighborhood area network, and this thing is plugging in every socket, every device in your house, it's reporting upline. I think that's probably pretty good. They ought to know when we're using our toothbrush or our washing machine or How do you feel about that?
It's all based around business. Well, now you're something when advertising that's pushed towards you as an individual.
Yeah.
More
Right.
money.
Like if you're over 60 and you flush the toilet twice in the middle of the night, what's that indicate?
That you need to buy more sugar.
What?
More toilet paper.
Yeah, or you've got prostate problems or something.
Put that ad on your TV.
I just read an article in Popular Science that was promoting the use of smart meters, and they were saying that parents who have gone away for the weekend, you could have it set up on your phone that they would notify you, and the example they gave, your toilet has just been flushed 45 times in the last hour, me and your kids are at a party in the house. I
Well,
thought
see-
that's that information.
What's even scarier is that you can control your house from your cell
Yeah.
phone. So what about somebody else from their cell phone, you know? Okay, so now we're gonna talk about analog meters, smart meters, okay? We're gonna talk a little bit about it, the history of meters. The evolution has been from mechanical to electromechanical to electronic. And first of all, we all know this one, we grew up with this one, it's got dials. Then there's the first generation analog. What this does is this pings out to a truck that drives by. It wasn't quite so bad, but the second generation one pings 2,800 times a day. I know people in Sacramento, this caused a bright and promising third grader to end up with ADD, and have problems ever since they put the meter on the house. This is one of my colleagues in Sacramento.
Is there any data on first generation?
I'm sure there is, but we're up to this now. Two-way, full radio, that's what we're up to now. These are the major players. Landis-Geyer is the one that's got most of it. What brand do they have here for you guys? I think it's the Itron Open Weight.
Well, I'm just thinking about diagonals.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So, you know, see here where it says Silver Springs? Okay. They actually put the transmission device in these things. They put the brains in. Okay.
You know, it says FCC, or Federal Communications Commission.
Yeah.
This is transmitting the signal.
Okay, now this here is a report, the California Commission for Science and Technology, which is not a peer-reviewed report. It was ordered by the government, and it was paid for with taxpayer money and utility money. This is the so-called flagship document that the utilities will hold up, kind of like their Bible. And when they declined our Americans with Disability Act appeal, they said because the California Commission of Scientific Technology and Science and Technology says there's no credible medical evidence that shows that these things cause any harm. And one of the things they say is that a cell phone is much more damaging than a smart meter that's always on. However, when you actually, there's been quite a bit of, for the people that know how to actually sort these things out, they say this is totally wrong. If you take into consideration the duty cycle, the smart meter is like 100 times, 2 magnitudes, 10, 100 times more powerful than any of those other common things. So because this is so complicated, most people just go, well, I don't know, as long as the pizza's hot, the beer's cold, and the TV works, I don't care. Now there's shielding. That stuff works. You wrap a cell phone in it and call. Yeah, roll that out a little bit, just a couple feet. I got this 12 years ago. I put it in my attic and reduced my heating bill by 10% and air conditioning bill by 25%. I never have that heat coming down anymore in the middle of the night on really hot days. Plus, we found out our cell phones don't work in the house very well anymore. And we only covered half the attic, only half the attic. So you hang this on the wall on the smart meter and it's going to bounce it back out. Okay?
Have you checked it with your meter?
What?
Have you checked that with your?
I've checked, no, I haven't, but I know that I wrap my cell phone in it, and you can't get the cell phone to either send or receive. It's just one layer around it. And other people are using it. I bought it years ago just for thermal barrier insulation. Okay, and so I buy it at a very low price. Like that whole roll, 125 feet, 4 feet wide, is $150. and I'm gonna give you the address of where you can go and get it from, straight from him.
Well, I put it all through my attic, but I can still talk to my cell phone. That's
Yeah,
why I was wondering.
but it's coming in through the walls probably.
Probably.
But if you take a single layer of that and wrap your cell phone around it, it's probably not gonna work. You know, it doesn't work on ours. Okay, there's other paints and everything else, so you're gonna have to shield yourself. Now, dirty power, there's really two problems. There's the RF, radio frequencies, and you have to reflect that away. Of course, the best thing is to just get rid of the thing, opt out for now. If you got a rattlesnake biting your leg, don't say, well, I'm gonna get rid of it when they do it for free. You know, you wanna get it off now. So a switching mode power supply, who knows what that is? Does anybody know what a switching mode power supply is?
We use them in radio for our transmitters.
Yeah, absolutely. And what did they used to use 20 years ago?
Regulated, big transformers.
Right. Does everybody know what a transformer is? You ever seen one of those? Big, heavy, durable, reliable, and they're expensive because they have a lot of metal and copper in them. They produce clean power. Now, a switching mode power supply is small, cheap, lightweight, and very, it's what everybody's using. And the way it saves energy too is it only gives out energy exactly when the digital device needs it. Kind of like, that's much more efficient than, you know, if you just need energy just in time, unfortunately, that constant stop and start produces, you know, we've all seen the sine wave of clean electricity. Now, when you turn electricity into jiggy-jaggies like that, that interferes with the beat of the heart and everything else. We're gonna get into that, some of that stuff in a minute here. Okay, this is dirty electricity. Now, this is the 60-cycle sine wave. These things here, which are commonly called noise, are actually technically called electrical fast transients. It happens every time the gap on a switching mode power supply opens or closes. They're also called high-frequency voltage transients. That's what makes dirty electricity, and it's extremely unhealthy. Your body can take the 60-cycle sine wave, but it can't take something happening a couple thousand times per cycle. It can't handle something that's happening 20, 30, 50,000 cycles per second in a totally erratic manner. And we've got reports on that. The smart meter is like a stethoscope into your home. Intimate, detailed information about appliance use, residency, and profiled behavior patterns. Hey, this guy's always gone on Sunday. Well, I've heard he collects things. Well, obviously Sunday's the day to go, isn't it? And why should we allow anybody, now the utilities say, oh, it's all safeguarded, it's all encrypted. Yeah, but I don't want you holding it. I tell you what, is the safety deposit box at a bank supposed to be secure?
Yeah.
Okay, but is the safety box at a bank, is it okay if the manager goes in there and opens your box and fiddles with it, but doesn't take anything? You know, he's not supposed to even have access to it, right? Okay, so this is the whole privacy thing, and the next slide is going to show you why. Because when they compile your data, you know, like, hey, these regular bumps here, these are refrigerators turning on. Whoa, here's the morning stove, you know, the toaster, the washing machine, the heater, and then the stove. So what's happening here? Well, either they're asleep or nobody's home. So it's really easy to determine, you know, when people are home and when they're not.
Is there some way, like, to see, like, like, people drive around the neighborhood with in a car with a laptop and they're stealing people's Wi-Fi signals? There's a program out there already that these can use to.
A couple people have learned how to hack these things. A couple people have. Hacker clubs and stuff like that. It's been done.
How can we join?
Okay, now the proliferation of RF is going to continue. Okay, so I want to thank Tom Wilson and for making that wonderful report.
Can we reverse it on them?
Sorry?
Can we reverse it on them, having their system shut their HQ down?
You know, I'm not quite sure.
Interesting.
fast, so you're gonna have to speak a little louder. Okay, the smart meter flyer. Okay, here's a flyer we had printed up. And we sent 1,000 of them out. In fact, I passed them out to the guards at the SMUD board meeting. And you know, the thing is that my wife is disabled. She had to leave her regular job. This is all in public record away, by the way. I put all this in print, so I'm not embarrassing her. She has fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, bipolar syndrome, osteoarthritis. And we just said, you know, the smart meter would be right on the other side of the wall. And SMUD says, well, no, we're not gonna give you any break. It's your responsibility where the electric panel is. We just hook it up to the electric panel. But, you know, how would you like to have 13,000 of these, you know, every 6 seconds? Now, they do network themselves back and forth. It's called a dynamic mesh network. It's kind of like a ping pong, one of those pinball games. Sooner or later, the ball ends up in the bottom, but it hits all kinds of things around the way. So there's really a tremendous duplicitous number of transmissions. And there is a third-party data analyst along the way. They're supposed to be bound and secured or something like that. Then there's appliance manufacturers that's going to be sold. Of course, the utility says we will never sell your data without your permission. Of course, law enforcement, all they have to do is come in and flash their badge and say, it's called an administrative warrant. They don't even need to get administrative warrant just says, we believe we have just cause. The judge doesn't say so, but we believe. So stand aside. Let's take a look at David Johnson's profile. Okay?
So they just hacked into their thing, they already got it.
Oh, the other thing is, it's going to be hacked, and they're going to blame it on the Iranians or something. Those Iranians caused all these things to go down. And now think of the opportunity there. Now we can pin this rap on some little country on the other side of the world. Yeah, really. Okay, think of that opportunity. Does that seem like a possibility?
Absolutely, one of the people that live in Glen Huts.
I think it's in the nuclear drone.
They don't have smart meters.
Okay, I'm only repeating things that a lot of other people have said. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to get on to Alan Fry. You're going to like this. Is this what you guys are expecting, or is this what the information you want? How are we doing so far?
It's a lot of fantastic. Very good presentation. Thank you.
Okay.
Go to the medical aspects of what's been happening to people.
We're about to get to that.
But that picture that had a little girl asleep right there, that's exactly what they did to us, because where we're at right now, we got one right on the side of our wall, right by us. Exactly. Well, they changed out that power box right there, right by our bed.
Okay, now the RF radiation is one thing, but I want to show you something else. There is the dirty electricity radiates off the wires. And just last night I had a guy saying, Eric, my heart's been hurting for 18 months. It's beating 170 times a minute. I can't sleep. I'm trying meditation, melatonin, this, that, and the other. I don't know what to do. I said, well, try turning off your circuit breakers tonight. Our food might rot. Well, just go ahead and do it. He said, Eric, can't believe it. I had the best night's sleep since they put the smart meter in. Because this stuff comes in off the walls, and this is what dirty electricity looks like. You see, here's the 60 cycle sine wave, and this is the dirty electricity on it. Your heart and your body can get used to 60 cycles, but not this highly erratic time variation and voltage variation.
For everything else, all this meshed together.
Are you saying the smart meter makes the dirty electricity because of the?
Because of the switching mode power supply.
Okay.
Actually, it's not just their fault. It's fluorescent lights, power supplies in your computer. This thing that's powering, everything's got switching mode power supply. Unless you have a power brick that's big and fat and really heavy, it's probably got a switching mode power supply. And legislation could be done to change that, but no company is going to spend an extra buck or two to clean up their electricity until they have to. In fact, I talked to David Stetzer, one of the world's foremost experts. Do you know who David Stetzer is?
No, I'm wondering what you were saying the other
They said, nobody's even gonna wanna talk about cleaning up the electricity, because if they admit that it was dirty, there'll be massive retroactive lawsuits. So they're just pretending like it's not there. Except I can measure it with this meter. Like right here, your electricity is, what's the number on that?
467, 514, 561, 587, climbing.
Okay, see this little thing here? Now what is it?
Under 90, 85, 84, 82, 81.
Now what is it?
64, 65.
Okay, so technology is available to reduce dirty electricity.
That's cleaning up the power right there?
Now, is that a whole house unit or just a,
Well, this is a whole house unit. I've had one of my circuit breakers for the last 4.5 years. It does about half the job, but it also protects you against spikes and surges. Like, I used to get 5 or 6 spikes a day. My computer would tell me when I had a spike or surge. Since I put this on, I've never had one. Okay, and so that'll protect you against spikes, surges. It costs about $700 to have installed. These are like $30, and you just plug them in.
would you put in each room or?
Well, yeah, you're probably gonna need somewhere between 10 and 15. I thought I'd get by with less, but I ended up with 13. Like I sit at my computer all day long, so I got 3 right around my computer area. Because when I found out how dirty the electricity was right around my computer, I knew I didn't want to be living around that stuff. This is enough to cause cancer, okay? Way more than enough to cause cancer. We'll get into that in a minute. We want to talk about health issues. We're going to go talk about Alan Fry. Here's the scariest thing in the world. You know, when my utility says there's no credible medical evidence, oh wow, we don't have internet access here, do we?
Yeah, it's not working today.
Okay, so we can't go to that link.
Oh, I thought you had it downloaded.
Sorry?
Oh, I thought you had downloaded all your videos.
No, you said you're gonna have Wi-Fi, so, Dr. Alan Fry, I can tell you exactly what he said. Dr. Alan Fry, you might wanna, Alan Fry, F-R-E-Y, back in the 60s and the 70s. He worked for the Navy. The radar site people said, I can swear I can hear that radar beam sweep by. And people went, nonsense. So Alan Fry went out there and found every time it goes by, he zip, zip, zip. Only it's not your ears. It's actually inside of your brain that's hearing it. Okay? It triggers a sound that sounds like God's talking to you. In fact, the military has worked on a project called the God Voice, trying to broadcast signals to the battlefield silently that the soldiers would hear in their heads. Now, he found out later on that you could stop the beat of a frog's heart with specially modulated frequencies of the same frequency as a cell phone, but 10,000 times weaker than a cell phone. You know, and I showed you the little picture with the little spikes on it and everything. It's the timing. The timing is everything. If you hit that right at the right beat of a person's heart, bam! You know, like you see these professional boxing matches, and you see it going on and on and on, and then one time one guy's a little bit off balance, and it just takes one little punch to get the guy up. Same thing with the heart.
Jesse Ventura just recently did a show talking about the whole RF frequency thing, and they now have a device that they can shoot at you, and it will look exactly like you died of a heart attack. It doesn't make any sound, you can't see it, and the coroner will say that you died of just cardiac.
Yeah, okay, so, you know, we're talking about conspiracy possibilities. You know, these are all possible things. Yeah, and if you want to look up Dr. Barry Trower, Barry, B-A-R-R-I-E, Trower, T-R-O-W, he can talk about how the military has been using microwave, even against civilians. And if you know back to the 80s, the Russians microwaved our embassy in Moscow. Are you familiar with that? Yeah. And a lot of our people got tumors and this and that, as well as feeling really bad. So this is an interesting field. And the question is, do we have the kind of leadership that we had when we founded this country?
No.
Okay, do we want them to have access to silent weapons for silent wars?
No.
Okay, because if they can beam something through the side of your house and trigger a heart attack, how does that make you feel?
Horrible.
Okay, I'm not saying that's happening, or it has happened, but it's certainly possible. Okay, now we're gonna talk here about, medical problems. This man is a plaintiff.
Donovan, and I live in Carson, California.
And you have had trouble with electromagnetic radiation?
Yes, I had a lot of trouble with electromagnetic radiation. It has put me in hospital 4 times.
Now, was this from your electric meter?
This is from the electric meter that was installed outside my bedroom window.
Okay.
And it affected the arrhythmia of my heart.
How do you know it was the meter?
Well, because since it had been removed, I've had no problem since.
That's a key thing. Don't wait till you have a heart attack, get them removed. It's like if your hand hurts and it's on the gas burner, take it off. Remove your body from the source of irritation.
And you had no problems before it was installed?
None at all before. I'd had problems with my heart before, which was perfectly all right for 20 years, and after that meter was put in, I had started having arrhythmia problems.
So when you say arrhythmia problems, your heart was not functioning properly?
Well, my heart would speed up to do about 170 beats a minute.
Is anybody here a jogger or ever got your heart up to a high level of rate? I remember 30 years ago when I would sprint, I would get up to 160, 165. My mother's heart beat at 190 for the last couple hours of her life. And the nurse said, don't worry, she'll be gone soon. I said, "Why? At 190, your body can't take it very long." Because you had water around the heart. So a man this age with a heart rate of this more than a 25-year-old athlete, do you think that's healthy for him?
Absolutely not.
Did he get a medical exemption, or did he just say, take it out?
I don't know. All I know is we'll listen to the rest of this here.
And I could normally control any arrhythmia that I would have before just by meditation and relaxing. And the smart meter, I couldn't bring it down. I had to be admitted into intensive care in the hospital.
And so this is from not necessarily the transmitted high energy radiation, the data transmission, but this is from the dirty electricity or the electromagnetic smog caused.
It's really important to realize there's 2 things going on. There's the radio transmission, so it's come off of an antenna. And then there's the dirty electricity that gets conducted through your wiring and radiates off the wires. And when it comes off your wires, it also becomes a radio transmission. And David, since you work around electricity, wouldn't an electrical discharge off of a metal wire be considered a crude radio transmission?
Yeah, it would be unwanted harmonics.
Mm-hmm.
Ones
Static.
clean, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh, okay.
How is that affected by the smart meter?
Well,
you measured this, right? You have a meter.
Right.
The dirty electricity or the electromagnetic smog caused by the disruption of the power current in your home, I guess, right?
Yes, yes.
Because it's, you've measured this, right? You have a meter.
I have a meter and I measured it.
This is the meter here. It's the first certified meter of its kind in the world. It takes the place of a $5,000 oscilloscope and just boils it down to a simple numeric number. Anything 50 or less is safe. Anything above that, you need to start figuring out what the source of the problem is or adding filtration of some kind.
Can you set that for different types of frequencies?
Now this is one size fits all. This measures everything between 4 hertz and 150 hertz.
But I mean, there's different types of radiation that are bombarding us.
Yeah, this is what's on your wiring. This is what's in your wiring. It's plugged into this power strip here.
Is there no electrical scope?
Sorry?
He's asking if there's a scope. That replaces the scope.
Oh yeah, I have an oscilloscope too. Okay, and I have pictures of that. But to be as accurate as this, you need a $4,000 oscilloscope. This is the tool that peer-reviewed articles are using. There's nothing more certified or accurate than that. You don't need a $5,000 cell
Do
phone.
me a territory we're still going to buzz on give it actually.
Now, I can't hear you too well.
Actually break down all the signals coming in and tell you what product or whatever is giving out the most bad signal and all this and that. To kind of filter down what you're seeing, the lines
Well,
up and down, say, okay, this is.
What I do is I go through a house.
Stove or.
When I go through a house, I do a survey, and that's one of the things I do. And it's one of the ways I make my money, is I go through the house, I have a checklist. I'm gonna go through every socket in the house and record the readings. And then I'm gonna go back through and find out how many filters it needs to clean up that room. And sometimes by the time I'm done, the people are feeling better already, okay? And the sad thing is when the people say, yeah, I'm feeling better, but I can't afford it, so go ahead and take them away. And I'm gonna show you that poor woman. We go through the house and we can also identify certain appliances, like, for example, this is probably a good time. Okay, what's the number there?
628, 747, 800, 814, 900.
Did it jump any with that light bulb?
Yeah. Yeah, something.
It's at 783.
It jumped and then went back down.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, this is just a standard, actually, this is one of these halogen bulbs. You get 100 watts of light for 72 watts. I bought a bunch because 100-watt bulbs are gonna be gone like the dodo bird, as you probably know. Okay, here's a curly bulb, also known as a compact fluorescent. Oh, now look at it.
What's it saying?
810, 792.
Unplug it, see if it changes.
It's fluctuating about the same field range. Around there, see. 153,
Mm-hmm.
56.
I've seen it as high as 20,000, and I've seen it, the one filter bring it from 20,000 down to 40.
Now, is that radiating out from the outlet? Is that radiating out through the outlet, or is it just coming
Well,
from the
it's
wire?
actually, it's going on the wires, but there's something else you wanna know. You know, these things that your utility is offering these things at a buck. Have you ever seen one
Yeah,
courtesy
they're
of
all
your
over.
utility?
Yeah.
Buck? Here's what happened in Australia or New Zealand. They subsidized the fluorescent bulbs, and everybody got rid of the incandescents. Then once the incandescents were gone, the fluorescent bulbs went up 300 to 400% in price.
Oh.
That's creepy.
Okay, move it closer to the bulb now.
This is a $10 radio from Sony,
Oh,
and you can use it as a basic indicator. There's RF flying off that bulb, and its oscillating frequency is 20,000 cycles per second.
What about put the filter on inside the radio?
He did.
There's a couple things going on there, but we can do that.
You know, so-
I do know that the meter goes down. I've even got one that hooks up to your leg and your arm, and we can see how much your body is picking up. We're gonna get to a section about bulbs in a minute. Okay, so let's hear the rest of Lou Donovan.
The dirty electricity or the electromagnetic smog caused by the disruption of the power current in your home, I guess, right?
Yes, yes.
Because it's, you measured this, right? You have a meter.
I have a meter and I measured it inside and,
So you find the levels in the home to be high, and that would not be congruent with transmitted cross radiation.
You see, dirty electricity is constant. The smart meter only transmits once every 6 seconds. So we know that the dirty electricity is one of the major components of reasons why people are being hurt. But the utilities haven't even talked about it. They talk about how safe the RF transmissions are. Like, look over here, everything is safe. They're not even talking about the dirty electricity. Okay, that really spooks me. I've asked them questions and they won't respond.
This is constant smog type radiation.
This is constant, yes, yes.
Right, so this is the other problem that they don't tell you the meters do.
You're correct,
Basically.
yes.
And you found that when you were in that electromagnetic field, your heart was going to high rates of arrhythmia.
Yes, and it wouldn't happen all the time. It happened the first time was 8 months after the meter was installed.
Yep.
And then the second time it occurred was 6 months after that. And then it went 4 months after that. And then 2 months after that.
So you became more and more sensitive.
More sensitive as the time went by.
And you found that when you were able to remove the meter, that you did recover.
Correct, yes.
And
when you remove the meter, you recover, but I've met a lot of people that never fully recovered. They're still damaged. They're still damaged.
Can you exclude the light bulb? It's just shining in my eyes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Real irritating. Thanks.
And what would you recommend from your experience that people may not understand, or that you've gone through, what they should do or what they should know?
They should know that they can change that meter, and they should do that. That is the most important part of it, is to change that meter over. They need to know that, because it's a cumulative, the effect of the radiation, and it will get you even if you are healthy. Some part, if you have a weak part of your body, it will come out in that weak part.
Okay, you folks are more privileged than I am. The only reason I still have my analog meter, I've been very forceful with the utility. I've got a steel bar, huge padlocks, warning notices, notices of right to self-defense to the utility. Everybody else, you just laid down and took it, okay? But you can, and I can't opt out to an analog meter. They're saying, I've got to take the digital meter. No radio transmissions, but they can upgrade it by just opening a hatch and shoving a radio transmitter in there. It's called a personality module. They can change its personality by just shoving it. It's like changing a battery on a flashlight. Okay, so they won't allow me to keep my analog meter, and it should have all been shut off January 1st. Happy New Year. But because of the efforts of many dedicated, concerned families and mothers in Sacramento, there's a handful of us that are still holding on. And we're going to win so that everybody else has the freedom to have an analog meter. But you should get your analog meter back as soon as possible. You don't want to wait till you become symptomatic. Any questions on that?
Okay, did you say something about they can plug in what?
Oh, right now, they're saying, well, we won't give you the smart meter.
Okay.
And I assume most of you have a smart meter, or some of you don't.
We don't.
No, we don't.
We got first generation.
What?
Opt out.
Okay, good, so you did the right thing. But if the people that have the smart meter, there's also kind of like a neutered smart meter. It doesn't have a transmitter.
Oh.
But it's easy to change as the batteries in this radio.
Wow.
It's called a personality module. And the guy can do it while he's standing outside your house. If you go to the Itron website, it'll talk about personality modules and says, we're ready to expand when you are. We'll take your standard digital meter and move it up to full smart meter, automatic infrastructure reading. So they said, we'll give you the digital meter, and said, excuse me, I don't want that. That still makes it dirty electricity. They're not allowing us to have the analog meter. So you're blessed, okay?
We have a first generation. It just sends a little signal. The first generation meter, it just sends the signal to the guy who drives around the truck.
Okay, that's called an ERT meter. Yeah, that's still harmful. Those go off about 2,800 times per day.
Oh,
Is it
really?
an Itron Centron or an Itron Sentinel?
I don't remember what the name of it is.
You should opt out of that.
We can communicate over the.
Oh, you're in Nevada now.
No,
No, we're
we're
in
here
California.
now.
Okay, get rid of it.
Well, we have a sticker on our meter that says opted out of smart meter, do not install.
Yeah, okay, that's keeping them away, but you want to get an analog meter.
Yeah.
Okay, if you need more clarification on that, talk to me later, okay? And I'm going to pass out some business cards here.
But that first generation, it doesn't,
Pass
send
these
all
out
the
to
signals
everybody.
right back to the
Like,
main.
give everybody too.
It doesn't send the signal to the power company, it just sends it to the guy in the truck.
Yeah, those are still giving people nosebleeds.
Oh, really?
It's still radio transmission. It's like a baby rattlesnake. Okay, so we saw enough of Mr. Donovan there. We're gonna go on to something else.
When did those push generation meters come out?
Back in 2005, 2007. Okay. Okay, here's David Carpenter, the guy that you saw speaking briefly. And he's filed something with the California Public Utility Commission. And I just want to go over the highlights here. Brain cancer rates. Electrosensitivity. Some people, 3 to 5% of the people in the United States are sensitive to these things from the minute they turn it on. 35%, they're moderately affected, like, man, why do I feel so lousy? Anyway, I'm going off to work, but I feel lousy. And 60%, they're totally bulletproof. They don't see any symptoms at all. But this is at the rate at which RF is ramping up. It's been projected that by 2017, and I'm not making this stuff up here, I'm reading it, this is stuff that is coming out of research books by people that are quoting peer-reviewed reports. At the current rate of RF proliferation, we can expect 50% of the population to be symptomatic by 2017. I mean, I saw as many, I just couldn't believe how frequently the cell phone towers are up and down here. There's going to be more of them, too. Okay? Now, the other thing is that well-known bioeffects. Now, here's one of his key statements is, you guys gotta go?
Yeah, we gotta go feed cattle. Unfortunately, cattle have to eat. So.
Yeah, okay, thanks for
But
dropping by.
thank you very much.
Call me later on if you have a question, okay?
We will, thank you.
Okay, and if you want, did you give us your email? Okay, the statement, there is no established mechanism by which a radio wave could induce an adverse effect on human tissue, is incorrect and it reflects a lack of understanding of the scientific literature. Okay, that's a very polite way of saying it's a totally ignorant statement. In fact, more than 1,000 studies on low-intensity, high-frequency, non-ionizing radiations going back at least 50 years show at least some biological mechanisms. So, if you see a utility that says there's no credible medical evidence that, quote, smart meters cause any problems, they're brand new, but they're just the latest application device. Like, does it matter whether it's a pipe, cigar, or cigarette? It's all cigarette smoke, right? So the smart meter is just the latest applicator. Okay. Then what's the next thing we want to look at? Okay, now the Bio Initiative report, that's very, very nice. You're going to want to write down the name of this. This is a one-stop shop for everything that's been recently done for Bio Initiative 2012 at Bio Initiative. You can Google it. Well, it's interesting here, this woman, Cindy Sage, I went to college with her, and this is David Carpenter. You want to find out about this and read, you just want to go down here through the table of contents. Evidence for this, evidence for that, evidence for this, evidence for that, evidence for this, evidence for that. You're going to enjoy this, okay? You can be better educated. And by the way, don't try to make sense with the utility worker on the phone.
Yeah, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, they're a paid liar. Okay, you have to deal with the board of directors and the CEO. I spent the first month trying to make sense with those guys. Actually, it's pretty helpful. He gave me some evidence that I could use against him. Okay, so, oh, and then one thing about the bio initiative report, it talks about constant bombardment by RF increases the permeability of the blood-brain barrier. Like, why do we have mosquito screens? To keep mosquitoes out. Well, what the radiation does is it enlarges the pores so the mosquitoes can get in, only it's the toxins that are getting into your brain, your control center. So what they've literally done, you've given them permission, you've given them consent to open the gateway to your brain and allow poisons to come in. If you know people or children that have young babies and all of this is infanticide. This is genocide. Would you give someone permission to come in and spray raid through your house once a day? Or black flag? They're opening the blood-brain barrier. You need to read this and find out how insidious this is. And it's just going to be that you're going to end up with some disease in 5 or 10 or 15 years. So this is very, very serious.
You think about it too, those smart meters, that brings a frequency close for RFID chip as well to your house.
I'm sorry?
He's talking about the chips.
The RFID chip.
RFID
Oh,
chip.
they'll be able to say, Eric Windheim is down there in Three Rivers, and so's David Johnson, he's in the room, and because there's chips. Yeah, that's a conspiracy possibility, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're gonna look at now is, what was the last one we're gonna look at? Okay, symptoms. Here are the symptoms, folks. Now, in 1971, this is what they knew were the symptoms of radio frequency sickness. Headaches, eye strain, flow of tears, fatigue, weakness. I try to identify anything to see if you know anybody. Moody, frequently irritated, unsociable, depressed. Wouldn't this kind of, what about these recent rash of shootings we've seen in movie theaters and schools? Right. Is it possible that smart meters are triggering people that are teetering on the edge already? Memory failure, sluggishness, inability to decide, hair loss, muscle pain, pounding heart, difficulty with sex, brittle fingernails, accelerated retardation of breathing rate, hemorrhaging or bleeding of internal organs, decreased filtration of renal tubules, increased activity of adrenal cortex, hemorrhaging in the liver, degeneration of hepatic cells, enlarged thyroid, hyperthyroidism, increase of radioactive iodine, and this was all known and published in 1971, 42 years ago.
Was there anything other than the bottom part with bronchial or respiratory?
No.
Yeah, the bronchial and respiratory is a problem. I'm wondering if we could close that door, might be a little warmer in here.
Yeah, they're really close.
Yeah, but definitely a bronchial respiratory. Okay, did that ring a bell? Do you know anybody that had those symptoms when the meter was put on their house?
Is that why you brought it up? Do you know someone who's having problems since the smart meter's been put on?
Maybe, possibly.
Okay.
I know I broke my elbow several years ago and now got it reset. It's been hurting bad this past couple of months. It could be because I'm kind of out of shape, but it's just been hurting bad, weird. I don't know. Who knows?
Okay, so here's a newer list that has just been put together. Buzzing in the ears, headaches, ear pain, heart, basically pretty close to what we knew about RF back to 42 years ago. And, a smart meter wasn't even a twinkle in an engineer's eye back then. But we have a match between RF radiation sickness and what people are happening today.
Of course, all this benefits the pharmaceutical companies and the corporations later in life with everything else.
Huh?
The pharmaceutical companies, all that, later in life, as they make you sick, they profit from it as well, cancer and all that.
You've got an astute perception of the obvious. They're not going to harvest you right away, but they can run you through the healthcare system and peel off your layers of cash or whatever.
Yeah.
Harvest you first. Like don't kill the goose yet. We want to get eggs for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now these are all things that I've heard people telling me. Like the healthcare or the sick care business in Sacramento, the only building going up in downtown Sacramento is a hospital. Okay.
Same here.
What?
Same here.
Okay. That's a booming business. Okay, so we're gonna take a look at, a couple of the little, videos here specifically about dirty electricity. Here's where we're at, folks. We're at, we've seen that, we're gonna go to dirty electricity, and, we've talked about symptoms. We're gonna see, well, let's take a look at another couple of videos here. This is a woman that I brought to the SMUD board meeting. This is the SMUD board meeting.
My name is Rosa Perez. I'm not going to read anything. I'm just going to tell you the truth from the bottom of my heart. Since you installed the smart meters, and when the smart called me to tell me that they are going to turn the electricity off for the reason to be installing the meters, I asked the gentleman in this exact wording, I hope and pray to God that you are not going to be installing smart meters. The man told me, no ma'am, we don't have no smart meters. Had I known that you people are going to install 13 smart meters in addition to 12 PG&E, I swear to God that you people will have to walk over my body to install them. I would not let them install it. Because what you did with smart meters to me and my health, I lived through Nazis, communist soldiers, Cossacks. Nobody damaged my health as much as smart meters did. This is supposed to be my golden years. Instead, these are my bloody years. You did not give me all options. When you came and installed, you did not give me options. I didn't have no option. I was there before you people. I rented an apartment to stay there, to retire and stay there. You came after me, you deceived me. Plainly deceived me, telling me, no, we don't have smart meters. Now
If her product is so good, why does the section have to be used?
I'm living with 12 PG&E meters and 13 smart meters. And you think you are fair to a senior citizen? I don't think so. I have something to show you. This is I have no control when I'm going to breathe, when my nose is going to breathe. I have no control of losing the hair. This is my nightly thought that I sleep in, and this is the blood from my nose coming. I don't have no control over that. I have no doctor that is going to help me, because I'm living alone during the night. I cannot even sleep on my own bed anymore. I have to close the door to the bedroom and sleep on chairs in the living room, or put the mattress down, sleeping back on the floor.
Do you ever have nosebleeds away from your apartment?
I'm sorry, when I'm not there.
They didn't want her to answer that one. She feels better within 20 minutes as soon as she leaves her house. And she sits in the carport for a couple hours a day, even in weather like this, or weather like we had for the last 2 weeks, because her house is such a torture chamber. I went over to her house and I was there for an hour, and it looked, when I came back, it looked like I had a sunburn. we put these filters in and dropped her reading down from over 20,000 down to 40. But she's living on such a small amount of money that she couldn't afford, you know, to buy 9 of these filters at $30 a piece. But she did say she felt better during that hour that they were in there. She just said, I have less pressure on my head, I feel better. I honestly don't know how she's still alive.
Is this the lady from the apartment complex?
Yes.
What the story is, that used to, when she lived in the apartment complex, I think the one was, and they put like 14, you know how they bundle them all up on the apartment complex, all the meters?
Yeah, we're
And
gonna
they
see.
put them all together. Do you have details?
We got a picture of that. Did I talk about that earlier, or?
I don't think so, I heard about it.
No, it's on the website.
DJ mentioned before.
Oh, okay. Here's a picture of her apartment complex. This is her declaration. By the way, a declaration, we don't just write a letter of complaint. We write a declaration in such a format that it can be used as testimony in court. And so we want people to go in, when we go into to the SMUD board meeting, they know that we are armed. And this is right on the other side of her bedroom wall. Those meters go off 4.3 times per day.
Those are gas meters.
Yeah, but people say that these cause people
Oh, yeah, they
monthly.
had big trouble with those.
They have smart meters on those too.
In Fresno, they had trouble with.
Yeah. And now the problem is these things, they each go off 13,000 times per day.
And they're clustered.
Yeah, and they put the dirty electricity on the wire. Now look at her list of symptoms. Does that look like the list of symptoms that we already read about twice? Mental confusion, cramps. And she came from a country that was first overrun by the Nazis when they were going east, then the Cossacks came through, and I can't even repeat to you the kind of bloodshed she saw inside her house and in the street. I'm not going to talk about it. I think it would just make you, it would make, it's probably worse than anything you've ever heard about in Vietnam, from vets that came back. And so she came to America in the 60s, she was so happy, and she says, this is not America.
Did she ever consider moving from that apartment?
She's tried, it's very difficult, I've helped her, and she needs to move, the utility isn't going to offer her anything, and yeah, she's considered that, yes.
She didn't have to move with those.
Well, she was there first, okay?
Yeah, but if your apartment is killing you, you get out of it.
Well, I told her, yeah, right.
Rather than try to fight the system.
Yeah, well, she's not trying to fight it, she's trying to find something else she can afford. She couldn't afford $360 to live in peace that these meters gave her as soon as they were put in. So that shows you how tight it is. She's living dollar by dollar. Okay?
And she's also paying for it too.
Sorry?
She's also paying for it too.
Yeah, she's
Paying
paying.
them for the
Yes.
water to be.
It's like paying to be in a Hanoi Hilton or something.
Has anybody, done anything in your jurisdiction?
You have to speak up.
Has
In fact, if you
anyone-
can all move her closer in, it would help out.
In your jurisdiction, has anyone gone after the contractors that are putting the smart meters
So
in?
they're all
What's
gone.
the
I've got a
status of that?
contractor, he comes to my smart meter awareness groups, and he's got prostate cancer. He worked for him for 6 years, he was the supervisor. And he's given us the whole inside story. So, no. The answer is no. They're not the people, they're said and done and gone. Okay, so what are we gonna look at here? We're gonna look at, okay, now, the thing is, you were lucky enough that you can opt out. But I want to show you, you probably already have dirty electricity on your wires. You can find out with one of these meters. I don't know if this is from a smart meter or from something else, but this electricity is way over the danger level. This is enough to triple the level of overall cancer and increase the level of thyroid cancer by 13-fold. And I'll show you the peer-reviewed report. It's this man's study at the La Quinta School. Cancer at La Quinta School. He's measuring the dirty electricity, and he found out there's a direct correlation between the amount of dirty electricity in a classroom and the number of years the teacher stayed in that classroom. Just 1 to 1, exact correlation. So the longer you stay in a classroom with dirty electricity, the higher incidence of cancer compared to all California school teachers. So he's an epidemiologist. So we're going to look at a little bit of how you can protect yourself from dirty electricity.
You ever heard of McFarland? Remember the cancer cluster they had? They're blaming the telephone wires. It's down there right above Bakersfield. Years ago they had
EMF coming off the wires.
Yeah.
The high tension.
Yeah, absolutely. Highly, probably yes. And everybody goes, oh, hocus pocus, you know, it's all invisible, nobody knows, but now people are getting smarter. There's inexpensive meters, there's more energy experts out there, there's people called building biobiologists, and there's more people getting better at documenting this all the time. These people, utilities are not going to be able to put the smoke over your eyes in the future.
What are GS units? GS units are used to measure dirty electricity, and they are presented here as a function of voltage and frequency. This research was done by Magda Havas and Ralph Frederick, both at Trent University in Peterborough, Canada. The Grain-Stetzer filter and the microsurge meter were designed by Dr. Martin Grain, Professor Emeritus at UC Berkeley, based on discussions and joint research with Dave Stetzer, a power quality expert and president of Stetzer Electric in Blair, Wisconsin. The microsurge meter is an inexpensive tool designed to measure poor power quality, commonly referred to as dirty electricity, on electrical wires. It works optimally for frequencies between 4 and 150 kilohertz. The microsurge meter on the left shows a reading of 488 GS units. The Grain-Stetzer filter reduces high-frequency transients and harmonics on electrical wires and thus improves power quality. It works for frequencies between 4 and 100 kilohertz. With one GS filter plugged into the same circuit, the dirty electricity drops from 488 to 339 GS units. Why was this range selected for the filters? It was based on Russian research which shows that at frequencies above 2 kilohertz, the energy flows internal to the body.
Actually, it's 1.7. That means it's getting into your body. Anything below 1.7 kilohertz, which is 1700, because kilo means thousands. And standard electricity is 60, so 1.7 kilohertz is 1700. That type of frequency penetrates your body.
It is much more harmful. For this reason, Russian guidelines for electric and magnetic fields are lower for frequencies above 2 kilohertz than they are for frequencies below 2 kilohertz. What levels of GS units are safe? According to our research, levels below 40 have been associated with reduced blood sugar among diabetics and reduced tremors among those who have multiple sclerosis. However, levels below 25 are required by those who are extremely sensitive. The electromagnetic spectrum is divided into different frequency categories, with extremely low frequency at the bottom, followed by radio frequency that overlaps with microwaves and radar. Infrared radiation in...
Okay, notice we have the fluorescent bulb down here. Power lines. Okay, we're just dealing with stuff down here at this level. By the time you get up here to like radioactive nuclear blast stuff, that's the stuff that once you're exposed, you die within a day or two. Even if just after exposure you're okay, it's literally shot holes through your body and you're have a leaky gut, everything's going to fall apart. But just because the energy doesn't have enough, the electricity doesn't have enough energy to knock electrons out of orbit, doesn't mean it can't affect your hormones and everything else, and that's what we're seeing.
Visible light complete the non-ionizing part of the electromagnetic spectrum. Ultraviolet radiation, as well as X-rays and gamma rays, are ionizing, which means they have enough energy to break bonds within molecules and to damage DNA. The two frequency bands within the non-ionizing part of the electromagnetic spectrum that have received the most attention include
power frequencies at 50 and 60 hertz that fall within magnetic spectrum. A GS unit is a measure of the energy on electrical wires generated by high-frequency transients and harmonics, and is influenced by voltage amplitude and frequency. What we did. We took a frequency generator, dialed in a frequency from 2 to 120 kilohertz, altered the voltage, measured power quality using the microsurge meter, and graphed the results. Figure 1 shows...
Okay, I'm going to pass by this, but the higher the voltage, the more the electricity will be dirty at any frequency, okay? So the higher the voltage, it's a matter of frequency and voltage. But we're going to skip ahead of that because that's a little bit boring. Okay, now here's something we can probably more
For each frequency in figure 1, each voltage in figure 2, and both frequency and voltage in figure 3. Another argument we hear is that the energy is on the wire and doesn't radiate through the air into the room. If that were the case, how do you explain the following results? We took a fluke scope meter that has 2 channels, and we took a light bulb to measure what radiation was emitted from the light bulb. We took one of the channels, hooked it up to measure what was coming out along the wire. We took another channel to measure what was actually emitted through the air at 0.5 meters from the light bulb. We did this research in a rural area of Wisconsin where there are no cell towers and very other sources of interference in our testing. Everything that is in red is what was coming out along the wire. Everything in blue shows you what was coming through the air. The reason the wire is not modulated in a 60 hertz fashion is because we used a ubiquitous filter designed by Dr. Martin Graham to remove the 60 hertz cycle and then show us just the dirty electricity on the wire. We got this waveform, whether the light bulb was turned on or off. When we used a compact fluorescent light bulb, in this case it was a General Electric 15-watt light bulb, this is the spectrum that we obtained. Everything in red is coming from the wire, everything in blue is coming through the air. The dirty electricity in the first example with the incandescent light bulb measured 65 GS units, and this was the case whether the light bulb was on or off. This light bulb does not contribute to dirty electricity. However, with the compact fluorescent light bulb, the dirty electricity jumped to 298 GS units. When we took this light bulb and plugged in one GS filter, this is the spectrum that we observed. With one filter, the levels of dirty electricity on the wire and the amount of radiation coming through the air were both significantly reduced. The dirty electricity dropped from 298 to 26 GS units. And this is what the spectral distribution looked like for the same light bulb. You can see here a number of high-frequency bands that are showing up in the spectral.
This is called a spectrum analyzer scan. This is the lowest frequencies, and these are the highest frequencies. David, you probably know that normally it starts here and tapers down, but with this light bulb, it's giving off vibrations in the 20 to 25 kilohertz range. It's very strange. Yes?
Are there any studies with the new LED light bulbs?
Some of them are clean, some of them are not. Depends on whether they have switching with power supply. Okay, and that's the thing they've got to control.
Distribution. Once again, when we took that compact fluorescent light bulb and introduced one GS filter, we significantly reduced the amount of energy radiating through the air. What this clearly shows is that the energy radiates through the air and can be reduced with GS filters. For more information about dirty electricity, visit the following websites. Thank you.
Now, by the way, there's a website on this little orange form. If anybody wants, I have filters here today, okay? They're like $100 plus tax and $1 shipping. Stetzer wants 125, but I get them from the largest distributor, who's 100 miles away from Stetzer. If you want to save even more money, you can order them from this website right here. It's called electrahealth.com/A1. I get credit for that. I've worked out an arrangement with the owner of that because I'm doing his footwork for him and advertising. But if you don't mind waiting, you don't have to pay the California tax, okay? That's 8%. A dollar is a dollar, well,
Just
a
the
dollar.
pleasure of not paying it is.
I beg your pardon?
Just the pleasure of not paying it is.
Yeah, and not continually funding this idiocy, like the twin tunnels underneath the Delta, or the train from Bakersfield to Fresno that people are gonna be standing in line to take, you know? I think I'll take my vacation here and just go back and forth on this. But anyway, so, yeah, you can reach in there, and for the next 7 days, he's also tossing in 3 of these with any order over $300. Now these are handy because many people's their outlets are already jammed up, and you're going to need something like this to put, you know, when you start doing this, you say, well, I don't have room on my sockets; they're all loaded up. So you get 3 of those, and they're worth about $3.50 a piece. And also, he's going to toss in the shipping. So let's say the tax, let's just say you only get 10, which is on the low side. It's like $30. We're $30 a piece. That's $300 times 8. Oh, that's $24 in tax. You save that. Plus you get, you know, about $9 of these, so that's like $34. And then shipping is another $15. You're saving about $50. So if you're inclined to do that, you're welcome to call me too to ask more about it. I bought my meter. This is a 5-year-old meter, and I didn't realize how important it was to get that back then. Okay, so we'll get rid of that, and we'll see what else we want to talk about here. How are we doing so far? Is this what you guys wanted to hear?
Oh,
Good stuff.
So appreciate it.
Okay. Now, we're going to show something else here. I want to show you the declaration of Michelle Hertz. I first started talking to her 6 or 7 months ago. She called me, and she had smart meters at both homes. One home was brand new, just built, all modern building specifications, and the other one was 100 years old. She was suffering at both homes. And here's her suffering. When you list her symptoms here, agitation, memory loss, inability to think, a mole that's getting bigger, unusual menstrual flow. This changes hormones, by the way. Did you give the utility company permission to change your hormones? Okay. She felt like she was being unhinged. Severe palpitations, extreme agitation, pain in jaws, nightmares. So she finally got the meters replaced. And they gave her a so-called non-radio digital meter. Same problem. So suddenly she realized it wasn't just the radio frequencies, it was the dirty electricity. And she screamed loud enough that she got him to change them out and get her analog meter back. But it wasn't quite so lucky for some of her neighbors, because in her little town of 7,500 people, this is what happened. Many sudden, massive heart attacks. People keeling over and dying at the kitchen table. Heart attack, heart attack, heart attack, heart attack, heart attack. And people just don't know what's going on, but she does. She is aware, and most of the people aren't. Suicides, emergency heart surgery. And she had this notarized. See, here's the important thing. In addition to being difficult to detect the levels of pulsating RF microwave radiation conducting from the meters onto the electrical system of a home, this pulsing radiation turns the building's electrical wiring system into a pulse and giant antenna surrounding us 24 hours a day. So you're literally like in a cage and it's pulsing in on you. That's why detection of whether you have dirty electricity or not is vital. And she had this notarized. She went to great pain and expense to send this to me. And I put this in front of the SMUD board and they go,
What meter can you have that detects it wirelessly? I mean, in other words, that you have a meter that you walk through the house and can you detect?
yeah, dude, it's called an HF35C. I'll show you a video of that right here. It's a bit more expensive. It's over 400 bucks. But you can count on a smart meter going off all the time. There's no question about that.
I've seen that on YouTube right there.
Here's an HF35C.
Oh, yeah, oh, that one was well over 2,000. Very noisy things. Even though, yeah. Yep, that's another one. Whoa. It's, yeah. Powerful.
Are you hearing that? You know, the utilities, I reminded my utility, he said, you say only once every 4 hours. That's utter hogwash. You know it's way more than that. They acted like I didn't know what I was talking about. I said, look, I've seen it on the internet.
It can't even go down. Look at that. Nearly constant. Nearly constant.
Okay.
Nearly constant.
I don't know who the utilities thought they were fooling, but it doesn't take too much. Would you believe the utility that says it's only going to go off once every 4 hours, or would you believe what that meter was showing?
Right there in front of you.
Yeah, right. And they actually had to confess.
Oh, really?
They had to confess, so I got them to confess that what they were doing was not true.
Are you?
They intentionally deceive the public. Now, couldn't anything be done about that?
Well, I said, now that we finally arrived at the truth, and I know, and the other people in this room know, what are we going to do about the other 630,000 accounts? The 1.5 million people in Sacramento that made the decision to accept the smart meter based on the false information that you published. You have an obligation, you have a liability. You need to send these people a letter that requires their acknowledgement and return and say, we've made a terrible error. It's just like newspapers make corrections all the time. This is not like, instead of the score for the Cardinals versus the Orioles being 5-6, it was 5-7. No, it's much more serious than that. Instead of 6 transmissions per day, it's 13,000. And you need to know this because it protects you, your family, your children, the unborn child your wife is carrying. This is a matter of life, health, and death. And I said, SMUD has liability, you have to call, you have to notify everybody.
Eric, what about animals? I mean,
The same thing.
Same thing.
I've got pictures of the animals, when there's dirty electricity going through the ground, it shows them going, you know. It's called dancing cows. They're constantly picking up their feet to break the contact.
I've heard of it run through the ground, but I didn't understand how it ran through the ground.
Well, what it is we'll get onto that if you want. There's another video we can show about that.
Could this be the cause of the birds falling from the sky?
The bird kills, the fish kills, the bats.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
I wouldn't expect
Oh,
that.
that's where it happens, it's Obama came.
Yeah, they're all killing their mom too. They're all killing themselves.
That's high fructose corn syrup and all that.
Here, hang on. Okay, here we are. Okay, where does dirty electricity come from? It comes from appliances with switching mode power supplies. It comes from outdated distribution centers, you know, in single phase, there's 2 hots and a neutral return, or does that ring a bell? Like 2 blacks and a white?
Yeah.
Well, all the current's supposed to go back through the neutral. However, it's like, can you get champagne back in a bottle once you've shook it up and poured it? I can't. And these modern devices, they make the dirty electricity. Remember how the clean electricity looks like this? And the dirty electricity is all over the place? It can't go, see, every electron that leaves the power plant or the substation has to go back to the power plant or the substation. Except if they had a line that was designed for clean electricity 40 years ago, but now the electricity is dirty, it doesn't get back to the utility through the neutral wire. They put it into the ground, it goes to the ground. In fact, several studies have shown, this is documented, 2 of them, one in Wisconsin and one in Minnesota, that 70% of the return current is now traveling through the ground. That's not healthy and that's not right. It's going underneath your house, it's coming up into your house through your water pipes, it's coming in through your grounding rod. This is dirty electricity getting into your house. And it's invisible, so they can get away with it. This is that peer-reviewed school at La Quinta School. So here's again pictures of unfiltered homes, filtered homes. It's a huge difference there. It's a difference that people can feel. Believe it or not, I was at a man's house where his reading was only 157. This is the guy with heart pain. Had heart pain for 18 months since they put the meter in. And 157 was enough for him to almost feel like he's ready to die. And he reported to me that last night his heart rate was 170. So, blood sugar too. This is actually the blood sugar of David Stetzer. As the dirty power goes up, these are like Graham Stetzer units, blood sugar goes up. There's numerous reports that show that dirty electricity is directly proportional to blood sugar. Wow. Did you give the utility company consent to alter your blood sugar? How could you use that information? Did you give them consent to alter your hormones? Did you give them consent to open the blood-brain barrier and let pollutants come into your brain? Is this enabling you at all to think about this? You need to help other people too that don't understand this. It's going to be like talking to people that are deaf. But if you put down your email, I'll give you the links to a lot of things that can help you. School nurses say people feel better when they put in these filters. Like out of 37 students, the people that needed inhalers, once they put the filters in, only 3 needed the inhalers. You know, people say, well, how can that purify the air? Well, it doesn't. It just enables the body to have some stress removed so that you can breathe better.
It's stressful. I mean, it takes stress away.
Yeah, a lot of people, one of the major things is immediate fatigue. Teachers say they're less frustrated, less tired, less irritable. People are better, they can focus better.
Well, if you have dirty electricity in a stressful environment, if you put the stressful environment is already to begin with. If you put the filter in, you breathe better and your stress goes down a little bit.
Well, who's to say what stress is really, dirty electricity can be, you maybe have a really stressful job, I don't know. But dirty electricity can just raise your level that much more. What if you were relaxed physiologically? Could you do a better job at your job? I don't know what it is, but if it's already high stress to begin with, why not take some of it away?
What I find funny about this, and I don't know who's got this up, but I've worked around electricity all my life in radio and TV and large transmitters and microwave trucks. All that equipment has huge warnings on it for the professional. And we have to have these safety meetings. Do not expose yourself to more than 30 minutes at the transmitter site. you know, you have to wear the special, you know, gear. Why is it not trickled down to the public?
Well, actually, that's a very good question. There's, the part of the FCC grant says no person shall be allowed closer than 20 centimeters. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 7.8 inches or something like that? Okay, so literally, they should have a warning label on these smart meters that says, no persons are allowed within 7.8 inches, but they don't. Now, these are all things that I intend to say, hold on, you put these in without warning. That's like saying, you know, selling Raid without a warning on it. Or, you know, without an adequate warning to the public. As part of your grant, it says, the grant says nobody within 7.8 inches, but they have not told us.
Well, it's like there's no OSHA for the private citizen.
Well, once again, remember, this was rammed through in such a hurry. There's no California Environmental Quality Act, because this is just a simple meter change-out. That's like saying, hey, I'm just gonna put it as a simple bulb change-out, okay? But what if I put in a bulb that increases the dirty electricity tenfold? Well, that's not really a simple bulb change-out, is it?
Or the deception.
If you wanna call it deception, I agree.
Sorry, for it to be marketed as, oh, get this, it'll last forever, you know? It's a good thing. That's what really irks me, you know?
Yeah, and it's like somebody was talking earlier, they give you an incentive on a refrigerator because it's got a Bluetooth thing in it. So instead of this, which is very simple and cheap to make, this has got, if you ever opened up, there's a lot of electronics on the inside of these things. So they subsidize these to be cheaper than this until these are no longer available. Then these cost 3 or 4 times as much. That's what's happened down in Australia and New Zealand.
I don't know if you're aware of it, when I couldn't have some stuff shipped into California that had regular light bulbs in it. They wouldn't even ship it to me.
Oh yeah, what, from Amazon.com or something?
Yeah, something I ordered online.
Yeah, I know somebody that stockpiled their whole laundry room from floor to ceiling with 100-watt bulbs. He said they're gonna go up faster than gold bars, you know?
I think
He
they're
thinks
smart.
they go like bulbs around a big line.
He's gonna sell them. He's gonna sell them on, you know, garage sale days.
Well, he better be careful because they'll probably get prosecuted.
Oh, really?
I really had big arguments with the company shipping me this stuff, and they were just scared to death. And who was controlling them? It was UPS.
Yeah. Oh.
UPS wouldn't bring the stuff into California. So if UPS wouldn't handle their merchandise, ship their merchandise, they had no business. You gotta look at who's really controlling the situation.
Well, you know, I wish we could go back to the days of George Bush. And I kinda laughed when he said it, a kinder and gentler government.
Yeah, right.
I wish it was just at least only that bad, you know what I mean? Because it looks now like things are totally out of control.
Yeah, the other thing, the smaller light bulbs too, the old style ones, what are they called again? Incandescent. I mean, yeah, they would pop more, but when the curving ones came out, they would last like 7 years. That was a great sales pitch. I never have to change it so much, but look at the down benefit of it.
Now, the benefit of these things, you put them
You're
off
guaranteed
and on.
cocky.
They don't last that long. The big thing is, okay, so this uses 2.5 or 3 times more electricity. What's the cost of cancer?
Or the hazmat for mercury.
Yeah, like you break this, the mercury evaporates. The big question is, most people throw them in the trash.
I know, but you're required to take them to the county hazmat site. Yes,
Yeah, who does that?
But you know, it's like I stated earlier about just how one thing leads to another a little bit, the more sick they make us, the later in life, and even today, how the pharmaceutical companies are ready to step in and this and that, and, you know, just, it's all about the money game.
This is the meter that, this is what they look like when they come brand new.
And those are how much?
And $100 plus tax. If you wanna ship it, you know, if you get a $300 order together, and I tell you what, you get one in your community, people are always gonna be bugging you. Hey, can I borrow your meter? Ah! At least you're gonna be popular, I'll tell you that.
Don't let them know you have it.
Well, no, you could be doing them a favor, but, you know, you'd be surprised when people clean up their electricity, they feel better within minutes.
I had a holistic dentist tell me that there's only two ways, safe ways to dispose of, or to place mercury. One is in a special hazmat container, and the other is in your mouth.
That's right, yeah, that's approved. Okay, so I think,
Encouraging.
oh, wireless routers. Now, we're gonna talk a little bit about,
I knew it was too good to be true.
cell towers. You don't ever wanna be within 300 yards. You don't ever wanna be within 300 yards. You know, one of the most sensitive part of your bodies is just like the protein in an egg. It's actually clear. That's the lens of your eyes. It's very easily oxidized. And cataracts are definitely a result of being exposed to this. So the other thing is a DECT phone, which seems to be most of them. That's a phone that's always broadcasting from the base station, whether you're making a phone call or not. It's like a faucet in the kitchen that's always running, whether you're drinking from it or not. It's a horrible waste. And when you use that HFC 35, the one that goes clickety click, you're going to a house with a DECT phone, it's just going ring all the time, all the time. A router sounds like this. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, so you don't want a wireless router. I use Cat5 cable. Works great. You don't want curly bulbs. We've cut way back, and even the ones that we do have are easily remediated with these. But I want to tell you something. I took data. 4 years ago when I first got my Stetson meter. I took a reading of every socket in my house. Everything in my house turned off, so it was only the incoming electricity from the street. And then I did again this November. And it was a weekday, about 3 to 4 in the afternoon when nobody's around. And guess what? The base load of dirty electricity is 89% higher now than it was 4 years ago. Now, I talked to Sam Milham about that. And he said, Eric, what you're seeing is true. Because when I measured the ground current in neighborhoods before they had smart meters, and after everybody's been deployed, they use that term, sounds like a military term, doesn't it? The ground current almost doubles. And the reason is the smart meters are an additional source of dirty electricity. And so my findings jive with Sam Milham's findings, that the smart meter neighborhoods, they're increasing the amount of dirty electricity re-injected into the ground. It goes to your water pipe and comes back through. So civilized areas are not going to be inhabitable pretty soon. You're going to get to a place like Three Rivers. So I hope I make some friends here. Maybe I can come up sometime.
What about like wireless broadband, like Clearwire, what we have? That would be wireless broadband, like Clearwire.
They flood the area with Wi-Fi that you subscribe to, it's the same as cell towers.
Oh, that's WiMAX or something?
Yeah, 900 megahertz coming out everywhere.
That's a good idea.
No.
It's like saying, well, like, is vitamin C good for you? Would most people agree that vitamin C is good for you? Is more vitamin C better for you?
Not necessarily.
Okay, is vitamin C toxic? Okay,
Yeah.
what can happen to you if you have too much vitamin C? You have loose stools.
Deficiencies.
I've taken as much as 20,000 milligrams of vitamin C a day. The only thing that happened was I got loose stools. And I did it to detoxify a spider bite, and the swelling went down overnight. Loose stools. Okay, so there's really no toxic, vitamin C isn't toxic, but most people would like to get some extra vitamin C. But how much radiation what's the minimum daily requirement for RF? Recommended, the RDA, the recommended daily amount. And if you're not getting enough RF, is more better? No, it's not. So you want to cut down. These are all things you can do, okay? You can get rid of all that. Shield yourself. This can make, you know what? I got this stuff, I put it in my attic. It worked out super duper, way less heating bill, way less winter bill. And then I started seeing them selling it on the sites that specialize in this. And I said, that's the same exact stuff I've got.
we put that up in a house that we built.
Yeah.
Interesting story. My son and I, put it up on the roof sheeting, and I walked in the house and I went, wow, you feel that? And my son, he had lived there for very long, so he didn't notice. And so we're sitting there at the table, and my wife walks in the house, and the first thing she says, she goes, what's that? And I don't know what it was, but it was, the whole house felt completely different. And I noticed it, and my wife noticed it. I mean, I didn't even talk to her about it. The first thing she said, she walked in the door, she goes, what's that?
Is it good or bad?
Yeah,
Was it good?
yeah, but the roof was enveloped with foil.
So it was a good feeling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's kind of hard to say, but it was completely different than,
Then did you have it on the walls too?
No.
no.
Okay, so you were there? Okay, and was it a good feeling or a bad feeling?
It was, to me, it was good. It was more peaceful, like there wasn't as much stuff coming in, whatever that would be, whether it be heat, whether it be electromagnetic.
Okay, well, it does both. It's a radiant barrier, and they use it on space suits and
And it does
everything
work.
else.
It worked really good.
So are you recommending unplugging your base station phones?
Oh, yeah, like, try to find a telephone that doesn't, if you need cordless, get a telephone that doesn't transmit nonstop.
Okay.
And then cover it over with a couple layers of, do this, wrap it both sides with tin foil and have it reflect out a window. You want to reduce the output of it. If you got a DEX phone, get rid of that. Okay, you
What's
don't.
the DEX phone?
Stands for Digital European Connective Telephony or something. It's an acronym for something, and it's the worst kind of cordless phone out there to have.
How do you know if you don't?
It says DECT 6.0 or DECT on the bottom. And almost all ones you see at Fry's or Good Guys or Goodbyes or whatever it is. Oops,
Oh, we just lost you. You're going to.
If you wanted to measure,
what happened there? I think what happened. Oh.
if you wanted to measure how much frequency was coming off your cell phone when it was turned off, is there a meter that would do that?
Yeah, there is. Now that's a smartphone. That puts out three times as much power
Do
as
you
a
have one?
flip phone. No, I have a flip phone.
No, I mean, do you have a meter?
No, I don't. I don't have it with me. Sorry. I've spent about the last 8 months just running my gut dealing with smut. And as a result, I'm still here living today knowing that my wife has power at home because, you know, they said it's off on December 31st, Mr. Windheim. But we had a tremendous amount of effort. Letter writing, phone calls, certified letters, everything else. We finally got them to, we're embarrassing the heck out of them because they know they've got liability. And I think the board is beginning to realize that, hey, we weren't told the truth by our staff. And we want to try to be on the side of the board and realize, we know you're not technical, but I don't think you guys got the straightforward from the staff. They're experts, you're not. Okay, so the next thing we're going to look at, and we're getting close to the end here, so if you've got questions, okay. Clean up your stretcher filters. Now, distance is your friend. Now, if you guys have spikes and power surges up here in your area? Power on and off? Does that ever damage anything?
I've had a damaged radio equipment.
Okay. These things here, although they won't get rid of all the dirty electricity and the high frequencies, they're very effective. Like, what's the reading on this?
520 to 550.
No, is it?
326, 343.
Okay, and they don't work on anything over 25 kilohertz, but they do stop spikes and surges tremendously. And in my interruptible power supply hooked up to my computer system, it used to go ping, ping, ping a couple times a day, and no spikes and surges. Since I had this in, never. So this is an important device to have if you're in an area because your computer can only take so many voltage surges before it's going to finally say uncle. Yeah.
Okay, on our computer, we have a program that has, it has a graph on there of all of those levels going through, whatever's going through your computer, you know. What is the, but it's all in, initials, so what is the initials for the bad, what's going through it?
Now, if you have computer grade, you know, that costs $35 or $40, that's nothing.
Surge protector?
Yeah, computer grade, or like a battery backup or something like that.
Yeah, one of the best things for your computer is a battery backup thing, and it cleans the power up perfectly. And then if the power goes off, you still have power too. I had one of those for years, and it was really good.
And that was a good investment. It cleaned up half the dirty electricity. Well, Mike, let's take a look here. Okay, so it goes from 500, goes from 560 down to 385, but then you put in this little filter here that takes it down to 71. Okay, so this little $30 item is doing a better job than this thing here. It costs, you know, $5.99 before it's even installed. Now let's turn that off. Okay, so it was 580, and this thing brought it down to 360. This little filter here brought it down from 580 to 87. So, you know, in fact, I bought this thing because I didn't really think that these things could possibly work. I mean, doesn't that make sense? Much more impressive, you know? And then I said, give me a break. But I soon found out that these actually do the work.
And there's numbers on that machine denotes what?
These are Graham-Stetzer units. Anything over 50 is danger.
Oh, what are they called?
Graham-Stetzer units.
Okay. And what are they exactly, the spikes?
It's the level of variations between the change of rate of time and the change of rate of voltage.
If you think of it like a fire hose, it's how much water is getting sprayed all over the place and not going where it needs to go is what it's.
Yeah, but it's also a fire hose that stops and starts thousands of times per second.
Yeah.
And when the pressure goes up and down, and it's not only is the pressure, sometimes it's sucking. Can you imagine a fire hose that's sucking and pushing 1,000 times and changing 20,000 times per second? What if the tide on the earth changed 20,000 times a second? What would happen? The water would evaporate from a molecular activity.
Does that make your power a little bit more efficient?
Actually, it does. You're talking about power factor correction, right?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. I put this on my house and my dad's house. We had an electrician with a $700 or $800 facility, you know, a clamp meter.
Yeah.
And he said, well, this thing's going to pay for itself over time. I said, how's that? It just increased your power factor from 0.78 to 0.95. In fact, I have a video on this. If you'd like, I can show you a video of that. If you're interested, I can run that for you right now. Yes?
Does the solar panels on your house affect the dirty electricity?
Oh, yes, they do. What do you know about that? Well, see, solar panels themselves are clean. They produce DC current, okay? It's the inverter, exactly. David, why is the inverter the problem?
Well, because it's forcing DC that's taking half the weight off of it and forcing it to alternating current, which gives off heat, gives off spurious emissions, and gives off harmonics.
Right. In fact, Sam Milham in his book here, he said that he did a dirty electricity study in a prison down in Southern California. They got these big solar farms, you know, like 20, 100, 200, 300 acres, 1,000 acres of solar panels. If you've driven out to Las Vegas, and he says this one prison is proud that they use only green energy, and he went into the warden's office, and it's over 4,000, and he said those people are like lobsters boiling in a pot. They don't even know what's happening to them. So the dirty electricity that is generated by the solar system, the solar farm, the wind farm, or whatever, dirty. Now guess what? They could clean it up. They could put on filters. Hey, they could just put on big commercial versions of this. But that's going to cost money. Now, What did we do to solve the smog problem in California?
Made everybody pay
Raise the
for
prices.
Or create those laws that force that too.
We put on air pumps, catalytic converters and all that. That all costs a lot of money, right? What did that do to mileage of cars when they put on?
Yeah,
Or the-
go up.
Okay, so in other words, the goal of clean air was worthy enough to make customers pay more for the car and pay more for the gas because we wanted clean air, right? Okay, now why don't we have that same philosophy going on with the power companies? They're making dirty electricity here, smart meters that make dirty electricity, and they want to act, it doesn't even exist. Well, air pollution, you can see it. Dirty electricity, you can't see it. It's like one of those movies where, there's vampire movies that's on TV these days where somebody says they're being molested by a ghost and nobody believes it. Well, dirty electricity is really real. So, I really enjoyed meeting you guys here today.
Like a 6-hour drive back to Sacramento?
Well,
We're gonna work about that. Now, I really would even love you more if you buy a couple of these things, but I think you're gonna find out it's a good investment because you can become an authority, and I will work with you. If you wanna become an authority, a person of influence in your neighborhood, guess what? I'll work with you and tell you how that you can become a knowledgeable person and save the lives of other people.
Your info is on that little card there?
Yeah, the handout.
The little pink
The
thing.
pink card I gave to your wife.
Yeah, okay,
your wife.
yeah, my wife has it.
Here, take a couple more because you may know.
Yeah, we
okay,
signed
I
a bunch for the radio
met this
station.
interesting guy, and you can say, here, hand him that, okay? But here's some more. Each of you take two, because you may say, gee, I got his card, but I only got one. But, you know, I do this because it's my responsibility. Okay, every movement starts with a few people, okay? A few people that believe, that know the difference between right and wrong, like common law. This is up to you. You've already opted out. Everybody here has opted out, right? Okay, great. If you need to share that with your neighbors. If they're not opted out, you need to tell them what you saw here today.
Yes.
And educate them.
Wouldn't it be more accurate to have, I mean, I know it costs more, but I mean, to have a meter that measures the GS in the air? I mean, as you walk around, so you can.
Oh, we're working on that.
Okay, so you can see what areas of your house are dirty?
Yeah, you want to see that? I mean, I got one that hooks up to my ankle and my wrist. You want me to show you that one?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you know what that would do just the opposite? It can protect you and somehow block the signal.
I'm actually I'm having a bowel biologist work on something like that. It's called a harmonizer.
Interesting idea. You can't shield the whole house, just shield yourself at least.
Yeah, one of the things that you do too is I have seen a lot of electromagnetic field analyzers, and so you can see a lot of bleeding and stuff in your house with those. So we use those in radio to make sure our coax is good and everything.
I probably could use a volunteer on this one.
Who wants to volunteer?
Someone who's got their ankle exposed.
Sally, you need you to volunteer, you need to put that thing around your ankle. Because I got boots.
He needs a volunteer for the honors. If you guys can. Okay. Bob's gonna volunteer.
Can't have boots on, Bob.
There's Bob, he's a volunteer.
Oh, make sure you let everybody know about the purpose of that bowl.
Yeah, what we're gonna do here, and while this demonstration's going on, we didn't pay because, our speakers today, and they came from some distance, some more than others. And what we'd like to do is pass the bowl around to help cover the cost of fuel. And then immediately following this, you're invited, if we get enough people, to go to the pizza place. And,
Up for that.
and then we're gonna have pizza, and you continue your conversations.
Yeah.
in a more informal manner. I would ask that Rocky and Debbie stick around with me so we can clean everything up. A lot of this stuff has to go back to the church tomorrow. Thank you. And I'll go ahead and pass this around to help cover the fuel costs and those kind of things. And Rocky over here.
Okay, now, I'm sorry.
Well, let me see, yeah, but, so don't go anywhere as soon as we're done, because before we see this last demonstration, we're gonna have webinars, because next time we do this, we could have via the internet, we won't use our Wi-Fi, but we could have the speakers on the website that we've set up, KCARFM.com, and thank you, and we'll be able to continue on with this and get more people involved. You can have a webinar from your house. And then, you can see the stream on KCARFM.com. So don't let it end here. Like you said, small movement. God doesn't despise small things.
Yeah, and I'd like to get those questions here, because I'll figure out what they all are, tell David what they are, send you the answers, but you can have people tune in. I think we may have a Thursday night something or other.
Yeah, that would be perfect.
And like if you have a regular half hour where questions are answered, you can build awareness. Because how many, what percent of this community do you believe is opted out?
We don't have any way of knowing. We were hoping we'd find that out tonight, that we would have a big turnout.
We have probably less than 1%. We do have an active pain and suffering lawsuit pending. It's going to be filed any day. Okay, now I need a volunteer, someone who's got an ankle and a wrist exposed.
Well, I can do the rest.
Yeah, go right.
How about the ankle?
No, the ankle's not.
Oh, I can do it. Okay, come on up.
Oh, you got low shoes. Okay. So these are EKG pads, folks. So, and what's your name, sir? Bob. Okay, Bob, have a seat right there. Okay, now roll your sock down, and you want to put this just above the ankle bone. Like roll your sock down even further. Okay, you want to use the white one? Okay, now what you want to do is you want to peel it. See, I don't know, have you used one of these? So you peel this thing off here. Okay, it's a gel pen. These are official EKG pads. Stick it on right just above the ankle bone. Obviously, we're wiring them up. Okay, and now this one you want to put on the inner part of the same wrist and the same arm. Okay, I'll help you on this. Okay, now you smear that on.
Good night.
Okay, now this is
Sleep
called
well.
the inner voice.